Chapter 1092. The Sin Demon Dragon. Although he was also a member of the Dragon Clan, he was born evil. The Dragon Clan and the Long family killed him and sealed him in the Spring of Sin. Over the years, the Long family sent many disciples into the Spring of Sin. Without exception, all of them died in the Spring of Sin. Very few could leave alive. Under normal circumstances. Since the Sin Demonic Dragon had already been sealed, and the Sin Demonic Dragon had already fallen, the Long clan shouldn't be sending anyone into the origin of evil. But the result? Endless. The Long family was still unwilling to give up after losing many experts. Longao was also curious about this. He was almost certain that there must be a secret in the Spring of Sin. Otherwise, the Long family wouldn't be so stubborn. Human, what makes you think you can do that? Not to mention the Sin Demon Dragon, no one would believe that Longao could devour the Sin Demon Dragon. Fool. How could the Sin Demon Dragon stand being insulted by a mere human? He roared furiously. Without waiting for the Sin Demon Dragon to make a move, Longao, who was still there just now, suddenly disappeared. Huh! Looking at the human who had suddenly disappeared in front of him, the nefarious demon dragon was dumbfounded. Even if he were to fall in the future and only his remnant soul remained, it was impossible for a mere Great Emperor realm expert to disappear under his nose. 100 Zhonglong sword chi slashed through the air and the Sin Demon Dragon quickly dodged. Even so, the Sin Demon Dragon was almost killed by the sword. If the Sin Demon Dragon was at his peak, he wouldn't have a problem even if he stood there and let Longao hit him. The current situation wasn't painful at all. Longao's sword chi had already fused with many sword techniques and it had a great deterrent effect on remnant souls. Even if it was the remnant soul of the sinful demon dragon, if it was careless, it would fall into eternal damnation. End this quickly. The strength of the Sin Demon Dragon's remnant soul was obvious. Longao knew very well that he couldn't give the Sin Demon Dragon any chance to breathe. Once he counterattacked, he would be in a passive position. Innate divine ability, Dragon Roar. Previously, when he entered the Long family ancestral hall and underwent the so-called second bloodline, his innate divine ability had transformed for the second time. Longao hadn't used his innate ability since the transformation. Under such circumstances, Longao also wanted to test just how powerful his second metamorphosis innate ability was. A dragon's roar resounded. The Sin Demon Dragon suddenly froze on the spot. His face was filled with shock because he never thought that the other party could change the flow of time around him and even lock onto his body. Not only that. At this moment, Longao's innate ability, Dragon's Roar, could even devour his opponent's remnant soul. The second awakening of his bloodline had transformed his innate ability, and at the same time, he had gained another power, which was the ability to devour souls. First lock on, then devour. Among martial artists of the same level, if Longao released his innate divine ability, who could be a match for him? However, the sinful demon dragon's strength was there for all to see. Even if it was only a remnant soul, its power was still not to be underestimated. In just a few seconds, it had forcefully broken through the lock. Thus, the devouring ability also disappeared. Human, I'll kill you. The sinful demon dragon was completely enraged. He was almost killed by a human just now. This had never happened before. Over the years, the Dragon Clan had sent in countless experts, but without exception, all of them had been killed by him. If he were to fail miserably at such an easy task, he didn't continue to think about it. However, at this moment, two swords' roar resounded. Xiling and Bai Ling were like lightning that soared into the sky, slashing towards the sinful demon dragon. What's that? He was startled. Before the sinful demon dragon could react, the two Genling had already struck the sinful demon dragon's body. Longao, devour. Looking at the two Genling, Longao was a little confused. He didn't know why the two Genling would suddenly attack. What happened? Without any hesitation, Longao carried the little one out and began to help Long Ming devour the sinful demon dragon's remnant soul. Longao, the next thing is to wait for Long Ming to devour and refine the sinful demon dragon's remnant soul. 1 month is more than enough. Long Ming devoured the sinful demon dragon's remnant soul, and Longao heaved a sigh of relief. Long Qiong was done, and only Long Ming was left. All this while, Longao felt guilty. Whether it was Long Qiong or Long Ming, they had almost lost their lives for him. Both of you. Longao didn't ask further, but the meaning in his words was clear. Longao certainly didn't doubt Xiling and Bai Ling's strength at their peak. However, Xiling and Bai Ling hadn't recovered to their peak yet. If they weren't careful, they might go for wool and come home shorn. He would be guilty. Xiling and Bai Ling knew what Longao meant. Bai Ling smiled and said, "Brother Long, the sinful demon dragon is at his weakest. If it were any other time, my sister and I wouldn't be able to kill him." "What do you mean?" Longao was curious. He didn't know what Bai Ling meant. When the sinful demon dragon was at his weakest? "Brother Long, you don't know. The sinful demon dragon was sealed here and was eroded by the seal's power all year round. Therefore, every year at this time is when the sinful demon dragon is at his weakest. Because of this, my sister and I can kill him in one hit. So that's how it is." Longao finally knew why he was a little puzzled when he almost killed the sinful demon dragon just now. No matter what, the sinful demon dragon's strength was obvious. Even if it was just a remnant soul, its strength was still not to be underestimated. It seemed that his luck was really good. If he came to the origin of evil at any other time, without the help of Xiling and Bai Ling, not to mention killing the sinful demon dragon, he wouldn't even be able to leave the origin of evil. "I've always had a question." Long family sealed the sinful demon dragon and directly listed it as a forbidden area. No one is allowed to enter. Why would they send experts to enter every once in a while? Is there something fishy? Regarding this point, Longao was very curious and also very much wanted to know the reason behind it. "Longao, I know what you want to ask. Ever since we entered the origin of evil, my sister and I have been sensing. If we're not wrong, the real reason why the Long family is unwilling to let go is because, first, they don't want to give up the inheritance of the sinful demon dragon. Second, the origin of evil leads to the dragon graveyard." Longao could understand the first reason. After all, the sinful demon dragon was a nirvana divine beast. If they could obtain the inheritance of the sinful demon dragon, wouldn't they be able to become a nirvana realm warrior? This was extremely important for the Long family. Longao didn't care about the inheritance because whether the Long family could obtain the inheritance or not had nothing to do with him. What Longao cared about was the dragon graveyard. P.S. The 5th chapter has been delivered. As for the remaining 10 chapters, Little Nine will try to hurry up. He had a headache last night and didn't dare to stay up late. Chapter 1093. Xiling, where is the dragon graveyard? Longao was looking forward to it. He wanted to see the legendary dragon graveyard. After thinking about it, Xiling's expression was somewhat solemn as he said, "Longao, think carefully. The dragon graveyard is filled with danger. When the time comes, no one will be able to help you." How could Longao not know what Xiling meant? With such a rare opportunity, Longao naturally would not choose to give up. "Xiling, I've already made my decision. What about the little guy?" Looking at Long Ming in front of him, Longao left Long Qiong behind and gave him a few instructions. Then, he followed Xiling's senses. The dragon graveyard was a forbidden area of the dragon clan. No matter who it was, no one was allowed to enter without permission. In the entire dragon clan, including the Long family, no one was allowed to enter. Even Long Di Tian and the heavenly divine dragon did not have the qualifications. The reason was simple. Although the heavenly divine dragon was the dragon clan's patriarch, he did not have the divine dragon pearl. Strictly speaking, the dragon graveyard did not recognize the identity of the heavenly divine dragon at all. The reason why Long Di Tian sent people into the evil spring every few days was to find a way to enter the dragon graveyard. Unfortunately, after so many years, they had not succeeded. As for him and the heavenly divine dragon, they did not dare to do so. If they angered the old ancestor, the consequences would be unimaginable. On the way, Long Fu, when we enter the dragon graveyard, I want to borrow the aura of the primordial divine dragon and Long Tian, how about that? Although the primordial divine dragon had completely disappeared, Longao could be sure that Long Fu would definitely retain the aura of the primordial divine dragon. Long Fu was not a fool. In an instant, he understood his master's intentions. Master, you want to refine a giant dragon soul slave? Since things had already come to this point, Longao did not hide anything and nodded his head, indicating that he admitted it. When Longao heard that they could enter the dragon graveyard from here, he was pleasantly surprised. However, the dragons that could enter the dragon graveyard were all mythical beasts. Once the refinement was successful, the army of giant dragon soul slaves would arrive. Even the 10 great tripods would not dare to dawdle. Without the aura of the primordial divine dragon, Longao would never take this risk even if he was given 100,000 guts. The situation now was different. As the ancestor of the dragon clan, the primordial divine dragon's aura alone was enough to suppress all other colossal dragons. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Master, to tell you the truth, even if we can successfully suppress it, it won't be easy to refine it into a soul slave or corpse slave. Regarding what Long Fu had said, Longao knew clearly. Longao didn't say anything. Master, we can try, but it will take a long time to refine it successfully. Alright, Long Fu, I was just thinking about this problem. If all the bones in the dragon graveyard are here, then we can refine them into corpse slaves. At that time, I'll prepare to move into the martial sky continent. On this point, Longao had already thought it through. There would definitely be a split between him and the Long family. Originally, according to his previous plan, he would have to wait until his cultivation base reached the Nirvana realm before he could split from the Long family. Otherwise, before he could split, he would be destroyed by the Long family. Long family aside, just the 10 great tripods alone could easily destroy the dragon sect. However, once he refined the giant dragon corpse slave army, the dragon sect would have something to rely on. Whether the Long family was willing or not, the dragon sect would have a guarantee to move into the martial sky continent. Long Fu didn't say anything. Without Xiling leading the way, it was almost impossible for Longao to find the dragon graveyard. Sometimes, luck was one thing, but having someone to help was also very important. In front of a huge black vortex. Until now, Longao still couldn't understand. Since Long Di Tian knew that there was an entrance in the evil spring, why didn't he come in personally? Just the threat of the sinful demon dragon? The sinful demon dragon was just a Nirvana realm beast. If there were no accidents, the Long family would have at least 9 Nirvana realm warriors. There was no need for many. 3 of them could easily destroy the sinful demon dragon. He shrugged helplessly. He didn't continue to think about this problem. Just as Longao was about to enter, Long Fu's voice sounded out. Master, Long Qiong has the divine dragon pearl. Although he hasn't completely fused with it, the divine dragon pearl is the keepsake of the dragon clan's patriarch. If he has the divine dragon pearl, coupled with his aura, I believe that the chances of success will be much higher. Longao also came to a realization. He didn't think of this problem just now. Without any hesitation, Longao immediately returned. He and Long Fu spent a lot of effort to send Long Ming and the remnant soul of the sinful demon dragon into the dragon seal space. As for Long Qiong, he followed him and prepared to enter the dragon clan graveyard. In front of the black vortex. Longao, have you thought about it? Longao didn't answer. He took a step forward and stepped into the black vortex. In the blink of an eye, his entire body disappeared into the black vortex. The Dragon Clan graveyard was a forbidden place for Long family. The Dragon Clan graveyard was located in the Dragon Clan's territory. No matter who it was, no one could enter the Dragon Clan graveyard. Even so, there were 2 Nirvana realm dragons guarding the Dragon Clan graveyard. Not to mention others, even the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon couldn't enter. Still, the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon didn't belong to the Divine Dragon Clan. Strictly speaking, the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon wasn't considered the Dragon Clan's patriarch. In the huge dark space, there were huge dragon skeletons everywhere. At a glance, It was impossible to know how many dragon skeletons there were in the Dragon Clan graveyard. As soon as Longao stepped into the dragon graveyard, he was instantly stunned. He looked at it without blinking. The surrounding dragon breath was covered in layers. If it wasn't for the fact that he was already mentally prepared, he would have been crushed by so many powerful dragon breath just by entering. The Dragon Clan graveyard was indeed extraordinary. But after thinking about it, the Dragon Clan was the most powerful spiritual beast clan in the world. The number of divine beasts that had fallen in the Dragon Clan graveyard wasn't small. Seeing this situation, Longao was pleasantly surprised to the extreme in his heart. If he could refine all these corpses into corpse slaves, at that time, wouldn't it be great? Longao didn't dare to act rashly. He stood quietly because he didn't know how many dragon souls were still in the Dragon Clan graveyard. After all, any remnant soul of a dragon here could easily obliterate him. Long Fu, what should I do next? Long Fu had followed the primordial divine dragon and Long Tian for so many years. He believed that he knew better than himself what to do. Long Fu thought for a while and said, "Master, in the entire Dragon Clan graveyard, the strongest divine dragon should be the #1 general under the old master, Xuelong. If you can deal with Xuelong, then the graveyard is almost done." Chapter 1094. Blood Dragon. Longao knew that the Blood Dragon was known as the #1 general under the primordial divine dragon. Just thinking about it, one could imagine how powerful the Blood Dragon was. Long Fu, can you sense the existence of the Blood Dragon? Looking at Long Fu, Longao saw a huge hill in the distance. The blood-red body was entrenched and the aura it emitted was indeed very powerful. Things had already come to this point. Longao knew very well that he had no way out. Since he was here, he had to resign himself to fate. Longao was prepared to use spatial teleportation to directly go to the Blood Dragon's location. However, he realized that he couldn't use spatial teleportation smoothly, nor could he enter the dragon seal space. What the hell happened? After thinking about it, in the end, Longao thought of an answer. There were many powerful spatial dragons in the Dragon Clan graveyard. The spatial fluctuations interfered and it was difficult for him to use spatial power. "Senior Blood Dragon, I have something to see you about." As soon as Longao shouted, the Dragon Clan graveyard, which was very calm just now, suddenly exploded with dragon aura. A human entered. And it was a small great emperor. "Who are you?" The blood dragon skeleton didn't move, but its two eyes suddenly opened. Its blood-red eyes were like two blood-red suns. It was very frightening. Longao realized that his body had moved. In the blink of an eye, he was already in front of the blood dragon. "What's your name?" "Senior Blood Dragon, my name is Longao. Are you a disciple of the Long family?" Nodding, Longao replied, "Yes." "How did you come in?" The blood dragon was very surprised because the Dragon Clan graveyard was a forbidden area of the Dragon Clan. Only the patriarch who had merged with the divine dragon pearl could enter here. In that case, how could an ordinary disciple of the Long family enter? Of course, Longao wouldn't tell the truth. "Senior Blood Dragon, my partner and I passed by the forbidden area. I don't know why, but both of us were involved at the same time." Longao had an innocent look, as if he didn't know what had happened. Before the blood dragon could continue asking, Longao's body suddenly gave off traces of the aura of an ancient divine dragon. Ancestor's aura? Not only the blood dragon, but all the remnant souls of the mystical dragons also let out dragon roars. Because the aura of the old ancestor had descended, they naturally knew what it meant. The blood dragon finally knew why the person in front of him could enter the dragon graveyard. It turned out that it was related to the old ancestor. "You've seen the ancestor?" He nodded. Seeing Longao nod his head, all the remnant souls of the mystical dragons were even more astonished. All of them were extremely excited because the dragon race had declined a lot because of the fall of their ancestor. Back then, the Phoenix clan, the Qilin clan, and the Dragon clan were one of the three most powerful clans among all the clans of spirit beasts. The primordial Phoenix, primordial Qilin, and primordial divine dragon were also one of the most powerful experts in ancient times. Back then, the two ancestors fought against the heavenly Tao and unfortunately fell. From then on, the status of the dragon race gradually became inferior to the Phoenix clan and the Chilean clan. The reason was because the two ancestors had fallen and the dragon race didn't have a super expert to hold down the fort. Longao, what's going on? Why do you have the aura of the old ancestor on you? Longao had already thought about it. If Long Qiong could not appear, he would try his best not to appear. After all, it was better to have less trouble. If there was an accident, wouldn't he not be able to leave the dragon graveyard? Senior Blood Dragon, when I entered the dragon race previously, I accidentally saw the aura left behind by the old ancestor. He said that he wanted me to enter the dragon graveyard and help the dragon race complete their great cause. He had to admit that Longao was really shameless. He was prepared to use the identity of the primordial divine dragon to settle the dragon graveyard. After thinking about it, Longao realized that this was the safest way. As expected. What great cause! The blood dragon was very impatient. The last words left behind by the old ancestor could help the dragon race rise. As the descendants of the primordial divine dragon, they naturally wanted to do this. They had already fallen. Although they were powerful, they could not leave the dragon graveyard. From the blood dragon to the remnant soul of a certain divine dragon, once they left the dragon graveyard, they would only die. Senior Blood Dragon, the words left behind by the old ancestor are. Longao seemed to have something that was difficult to say. Speak. After mustering his courage, Longao seemed to have something that he could not say. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, Senior Blood Dragon, the old ancestor's intention is to use the bones and remnant souls of the giant dragons in the dragon graveyard to create a corpse slave army to help the dragon race rise. Corpse slave army? The blood dragon was a little vigilant because he knew very well what Longao's words meant. Did the old ancestor really say that? Senior Blood Dragon, if there's anything, you can tell the old ancestor personally. Tell him personally? How? The blood dragon was confused. Then, above Longao's head, a giant dragon phantom that was thousands of feet long suddenly appeared. It was the primordial divine dragon. When they saw the old ancestor, all the remnant souls of the divine dragons, including the blood dragon, knelt on the ground. They were all trembling, and their faces were filled with surprise and shock. Old ancestor. Cut the crap. I don't have much time. Listen carefully. Yes, old ancestor. The blood dragon was trembling with fear. He did not dare to continue talking nonsense. The primordial divine dragon represented the supreme. Even if it had fallen and only its aura remained, it was still a supreme existence. From now on, Longao is my spokesperson. If you listen to me obediently and sacrifice you, you can help my dragon clan rise. Are you not willing? No one dared to answer. Of course, no one was willing to agree. How many people in the world could refine their own bones and remnant souls into a corpse slave army? However, many of the divine dragons in the dragon graveyard were still willing. If sacrificing them in exchange for the rise of the dragon race, they would die with no regrets. After all, they had made a great contribution to the dragon race. I can no longer help the dragon race. The future of the dragon race depends on you. I hope you don't let me down. After saying this, the primordial divine dragon phantom disappeared. Longao, how do you want to refine us? With the appearance of the primordial divine dragon, the blood dragon's attitude directly took a 180-degree turn. His attitude was also respectful. After all, the primordial divine dragon had just said that Longao was his spokesperson. Even if he looked down on him, on the surface, the blood dragon would definitely not show it. How to refine them? If an outsider were to hear blood dragon's words, they would probably be scared to death. To think that he would ask to be refined by someone else. This was a complete idiot. However, it was still the same sentence. For the dragon race to rise up, sacrificing oneself was necessary. P.S. I was so scared that I peed my pants. When I didn't explode, there were a lot of rewards and tickets. Today, there were 15 chapters of exploding. There were no rewards and no tickets. Is everyone not willing to see Little Nine explode? If so, Little 9 really wouldn't dare to explode in the future. Chapter 1095. Longao's actions could be said to be seeking riches and honor in danger. Once he failed, he would die without a doubt. The primordial divine dragon had already disappeared. How could it reappear in the dragon graveyard? The imagination that appeared just now was all planned by Longao. It could be considered to have deceived everyone. Longao used the aura of the primordial divine dragon to let Longchong pretend to be a primordial divine dragon. Fortunately, the blood dragon did not sense it, otherwise, it would definitely be exposed. Since things had already come to this point, he had to go all out. After calming down a little, Longao was pleasantly surprised. Senior blood dragon, the old ancestor left me a space. All of you enter it, the old ancestor will personally refine it. Hearing that the old ancestor was going to personally refine them, the blood dragon felt a little better. Looking at all the clansmen behind him, the blood dragon was very reluctant. There was no other way. For the rise of the dragon clan, they had to sacrifice themselves. For the rise of the dragon clan, we have to sacrifice ourselves. If you are unwilling, you can stay. We are willing. In unison, tens of thousands of dragon remnant souls, none of them were unwilling. Seeing this situation, the blood dragon was very satisfied. Longao was a little moved. If not for the fact that he had no other choice, he was really unwilling to do such a thing. Ever since he entered the Sky Martial continent, he found that it was getting more and more difficult to move. If he could have the help of the Divine Dragon Corps slave army, not only him, even the dragon sect could enter the Sky Martial continent. Longao, let's begin. Nodding. Longao did not continue to hesitate and opened the dragon seal space. With the help of Long Fu's power, as long as tens of thousands of divine dragon remnant souls entered the dragon seal space, then they would not be able to control it. Next, a divine dragon remnant soul followed another divine dragon remnant soul and began to gradually enter the dragon seal space. Seeing countless divine dragon remnant souls entering the dragon seal space, Longao was pleasantly surprised. After a rough calculation, there were about 10,000 of them in the entire dragon graveyard, and all of their remnant souls were preserved. Without a divine soul, it was impossible to refine a corpse slave, let alone a soul slave. After a full 10 minutes, all of the divine dragon remnant souls entered the dragon seal space, leaving only the blood dragon. He looked at the dragon graveyard reluctantly. Long, I hope that you can promise me one thing. Senior, please speak. Longao could almost guess what the blood dragon wanted to say. After all, it was the blood dragon that could refine more than 10,000 divine dragon remnant souls. If it were him, he would not be able to do it. Longao, no matter what happens in the future, even if you take 10,000 steps back and leave your Long family behind, I hope that you can help the dragon clan when they are in trouble. As expected. If it was in the past, Longao would never have agreed. However, this time, Longao was a little embarrassed to settle the matter of the dragon clan's tomb, so he nodded and said, Senior, don't worry, I will do it. After watching for a full 3 seconds, the blood dragon finally gritted its teeth and entered the dragon seal space as well. Since then, all the remnant souls of the divine dragons in the entire dragon graveyard had entered the dragon seal space. As long as there was no problem with the dragon seal space, there would not be any problems with the refinement. Soul slave. Corpse slave. Longao still had not decided whether to refine a soul slave or a corpse slave. Comparing the two was a different concept. The soul slave that was refined was stronger than the corpse slave. However, the soul slave could not leave the dragon seal space for too long. If it was by his side, the soul slave would be more useful. However, Longao had already thought about it. After refining the corpse slave, the dragon sect could enter the Sky Martial continent and rise up. At that time, even if there were 10 forces, they would not dare to provoke the dragon sect. Master, are you going to refine a soul slave or a corpse slave? Seeing that his master was still hesitating, Long Fu did not dare to make a decision. No matter what, Longao was his master. Long Fu, how long will it take to refine all of them into corpse slaves? This was the matter that Longao was most concerned about. Over 1,000 divine Tao inheritances. Once they were refined, the dragon sect would have over 1,000 divine Tao experts. Adding on the army of over 10,000 divine Tao corpse slaves, the dragon sect would have the qualifications to enter the Sky Martial continent. Master, I will do my best. However, if I want to refine an army of over 10,000 divine dragon corpse slaves by myself, it will take me at least 3 years. 3 years. It was too slow. Longao really couldn't wait, because in 3 years, a lot of things could happen. No one knew what would happen at that time. Long Fu, is there any way to speed up the refinement? Longao was no fool. Since Long Fu had said so, there had to be a way. Long Fu thought for a moment and said, Master, the Dragon Tomb is a treasure land. It is also the center of the Long family. As long as I refine it here, I believe it will be twice the result with half the effort. Without waiting for Longao to speak, Long Fu continued, Master, to tell you the truth, with the power of the dragon seal space, it is impossible to refine the remnant souls of the blood dragon and the other divine dragons. After some calculations, I think it would be better for me to refine the divine dragons and refine all the dragon remnant souls of the supreme divine beasts to help the dragon seal recover. He was unwilling to accept this. However, in the end, it would be Long Fu refining the corpse slaves. Long Fu could do whatever he wanted. However, Longao was still a bit unhappy about this. Long Fu, refining the divine dragon's remnant souls isn't a problem. As for the other divine dragon's remnant souls, I think we should leave them behind and slowly refine them. If he wanted to rise on the martial heaven continent, the remnant souls of the blood dragon and the other divine dragons were too important. Although he also wanted to recover the dragon seal space, losing the blood dragons and the other corpse slaves was impossible. Master, since that's the case, let me calculate. There are over 1,000 divine dragons. I'll help you refine them first. As for the remaining divine dragons' remnant souls, I'll slowly refine them. Within 3 years, I'll definitely finish them for you. Thank you for your hard work. Longao was very shocked. The Dragon Clan was indeed the Dragon Clan. It was indeed the most powerful clan in the world. It was hard for Longao to imagine that if the dragons in the Dragon Clan graveyard could be reborn, the strength of the Dragon Clan would increase by more than 10 times. Master, I forgot to tell you. Of the over 10,000 divine dragon remnant souls, 8,700 are too damaged. I can't refine them. I can only merge them to restore the dragon seal space. So of the 1,000 divine dragon corpse slaves, I'll help you refine the remaining 300 divine dragon remnant souls within 3 years. All right. Longao had long since guessed this. If they could refine over 10,000 divine dragon remnant souls into corpse slaves, then let alone rising on the martial heaven continent, even contending with the 10 directions divine beasts wouldn't be a problem. Even so, with over 1,000 divine dragon corpse slaves and over 1,000 divine realm experts of the dragon sect, it was more than enough for them to enter the martial heaven continent. They could already start trying to enter the martial heaven continent. Once they had over 1,000 divine realm experts, it would be the time for the dragon sect to rise. Chapter 1096. 1 month later. Long Ming swallowed the remnant soul of the Sin Demon Dragon and successfully regained his peak strength. As for refining the Divine Dragon Corpse slave army, with the help of the Dragon Graveyard, Long Fu swallowed more than 8,700 Divine Dragon remnant souls. Not only did he help the Dragon seal space, he even succeeded in refining it. In 1 month, he successfully refined over 1,000 Divine Dragon Corpse slaves. What kind of concept was that? Master, even if the refining is successful, are you really going to announce it to the world? With regards to Long Fu's intention, Long Ao was very clear in his heart. Regarding this matter, Long Ao really hadn't thought it through. Long Fu, can you find the exit? Seeing that his master wasn't willing to say more, Long Fu didn't continue asking. Master, you're not going to go back the way you came? With regards to this, Long Ao had already thought about it. If he went back the way he came, he believed that Long Hang wouldn't let him go. He could hide for a while, but he couldn't hide forever. Longao didn't want to cause any more trouble. He was prepared to take drastic measures. Master, I can sense it. Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was pleasantly surprised. He immediately followed Long Fu's senses and left the dragon graveyard. At a place not far from the Long family, Longao looked at the Long family in the distance and sneered in his heart. If nothing unexpected happened, the Long family would definitely think that he had died in the evil spring. In that case, he could use another identity to bring Longao to the Sky Martial continent. Just as Longao guessed. Long family, at the entrance of the evil spring. Long Di Tien, Long Ao, Long Bo, Long Chen and the others were all waiting here. Because a month had passed, if Long Ao didn't die, he would be teleported out of the evil spring. A day had already passed, but Long Ao still hadn't come out. Didn't that mean that Long Ao had died in the evil spring? Long Di Tien didn't say anything and sighed deeply. Master God Diviner had said that Long Ao was the savior of the Long family. Now that he was dead, what would happen to the Long family? After Long Di Tien and Long Bo left, Long Chen seemed to be unable to accept this reality. He could only sigh and leave. Long Hang, who was left behind, was very happy. Seeing Long Ao fall, Long Di Tien was very disappointed. Long Hang had won this round, and as for the dragon sect, since Long Ao was already dead, Long Hang would not lower himself to deal with a small dragon sect. Long family. Inside the main hall. Father, Long Ao is dead. The oracle's prophecy has been destroyed. He waved his hand. Long Di Tien was very unhappy. He had never thought that Long Ao would enter the origin of evil without leaving. If he had known earlier, he would never have agreed to let Long Ao enter the origin of evil. Long Ao has fallen. My Long family will be in big trouble. Father, it's the grandson of the oracle again? Nodding his head, Long Di Tien did not try to hide anything. He recounted everything that the God Diviner had said to him previously. After hearing this, Long Bo instantly knew why his father was doing this. However, in Long Bo's heart, he did not put the oracle in his eyes at all. Other than the fact that the oracle's cultivation had reached the peak of the martial Tao, how could his Tao of divination be so accurate? If the oracle was really so powerful, Long Ao would not have died this time. In the end, the oracle's Tao of divination was only SOSO. Not to mention Long Bo, even Long Di Tien did not believe in the oracle. No matter what, Long Ao had died in the origin of evil. Father, what should we do now? From the beginning to the end, no one knew what the so-called 10,000-year calamity was. The oracle did not say it clearly. Let me think about it. Long Di Tien did not say anything. The entire hall was silent. To the entire Long clan, Long Ao was nothing. Especially to the entire Tianwu continent, he was even less important. Therefore, whether or not Long Ao had fallen was nothing to the Long family and the entire Tianwu continent. It was like a drop of water falling into the sea. It could not even cause a ripple. 9 Prefectures Continent. Netherworld Mansion, Main Hall. Wei Yang, I just received news that Long Ao had entered the Long family's forbidden land, the origin of evil. He has entered but not come out. Hearing Lei Luo's words, Wei Yang's face lit up. It's good that he's dead. Big brother Lei Luo, since Long Ao is already dead, should we go all out and destroy the dragon sect? If you cut the grass without removing the roots, it would grow again. However, Lei Luo waved his hand and said with a smile, Long Ao is dead. Only the dragon sect is left. It is not important whether or not it is destroyed. Do you understand? Brother Lei Luo, what if? There's no what if. If we don't show mercy to a small dragon sect, people will gossip about us. Since that's the case, I won't stay here any longer. Tomorrow, I'll prepare to return to the Tianwu continent. Lei Luo nodded. The matter had already been resolved. Whether or not he stayed was no longer important. Long Ao Peak. Long Ao had returned safely. Long Haosha and the others were delighted. How could they not be excited that their grandson was fine? Long Ao got straight to the point. He immediately told his grandfather his thoughts. The dragon sect returned to the peak. However, The news that Longao was still alive was sealed by the dragon sect. Only a few people knew about it. Of the 1,000 divine dragon corpse slaves, Longao had left 500 of them in the dragon sect. As for the remaining 500, they were given to Long Ying. Longao's intentions were clear. He wanted his big brother to establish a branch of the dragon sect on the Tianwu continent. That way, they could look after each other. Even if something happened, they could withdraw from the Tianwu continent and return to the 9 provinces continent. This time, in order to temper his family's disciples, not just the Long family's disciples, but also the Wang family's disciples, the Mu family's disciples, as well as Longao's friends. As for Long Haoshe and the others, they continued to watch over the headquarters. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. Longao had brought Long Ying and the others to the Tianwu continent. They had encountered Lei Luo on the way. That was just courting death. If he hadn't refined the Divine Dragon Corps slave army, Longao naturally wouldn't have gone to deal with Lei Luo. No matter what, Lei Luo was still a divine path expert. However, the current situation was completely different. With over 500 divine dragons, any 2 of them could easily kill Lei Luo. This was a rare opportunity. Longao couldn't easily give it up. Lei Luo, long time no see. I trust you've been well since we last met. There was no one around. Lei Luo looked at the people in front of him, especially Longao. He was shocked. He had already received news that Longao had entered the evil spring and hadn't come out. Since that was the case, why was Longao here? Could it be that the Long family had intentionally spread false news? Thinking of that, Lei Luo's expression instantly turned cold. Chapter 1097. Longao, it has indeed been a long time since we last met. So what if Longao wasn't dead? So what if Longao had broken through to the martial emperor realm? Even if there were tens of thousands of people before him, what could they do to him? What a joke. From the start till the end, Lei Luo had never placed Longao in his eyes. That was because a martial emperor and a martial emperor were 2 completely different existences. The 2 of them couldn't be compared at all. They weren't even on the same level. Lei Luo, do you think that you can leave this place alive? Ha ha ha. Hearing Longao's words, Lei Luo laughed out maniacally, as though he had just heard the funniest joke in the world. To think that a bunch of low-leveled martial artists would dare to boast about wanting to kill him. Was that even possible? Longao and the others did not say anything. They just watched silently. Everyone behind them was getting more excited than the other. Killing a martial emperor was something that they would never have dared to dream of in the past. But right now, it was a dream come true. Martial artists of the Supreme Tao were supreme existences in the Jiuzhou continent. Shaking his head helplessly, Longao summoned 10 God Dragon Corps slaves from the Dragon Seal space. They swarmed forward. Before Lei Luo could finish laughing, he was drowned by 10 God Dragon Corps slaves. In fact, before he could even react, Lei Luo was killed instantly. Looking at the scene before them, everyone could not help but gulp down their saliva. This was way too shocking. 7th brother, when we head over to the Sky Martial continent, if I were to become the master, wouldn't I be unable to control the situation? Looking at 7th brother beside him, Long Ying knew that the distance between him and 7th brother was getting bigger and bigger. Even if he had obtained the inheritance of the martial emperor. The entire Long family knew that Longao did not cultivate the inheritance of the martial emperor. It wasn't that he didn't have it. It was just that he didn't care for it. That was the reason why Long Ying wasn't confident. In his opinion, 7th brother was the most suitable candidate. If he were to become the master of the dragon sect, wouldn't that be a little too much? How could Longao not know what his elder brother meant? Smiling, Longao said, "First, you are the eldest son of the family. The position of master of the dragon sect is yours. Second, due to certain reasons, my identity cannot be revealed. So you can be at ease as the master of the dragon sect. In the future, you will definitely become the peak figure of the martial heaven continent." He was touched and grateful. Without 7th brother, he wouldn't be where he was today. Since the matter had already reached this point, Long Ying did not say much either. Nether Mansion. Master, why have you come personally? Seeing his master suddenly appear, Wei Yang was scared out of his wits. He really couldn't understand why his master would appear for no reason. Could it be that something had happened? He Shou's expression was very ugly as he asked, Lei Luo left? Yes. Lei Luo is dead. Huh. Hearing his master's words, Wei Yang was dumbfounded. Lei Luo was dead. Master, what is going on? Let alone Wei Yang, even He Shou was a bit confused. Lei Luo's strength was there for all to see. Furthermore, everyone in the Martial Heaven continent knew that Lei Luo was one of He Shou's people. Who would be so daring as to attack Lei Luo? He Shou possessed Lei Luo's soul. The first person to know of Lei Luo's death was He Shou. Furthermore, he had found Lei Luo's corpse based on his aura. Losing Lei Luo had a huge impact on He Shou. Many things were done by Lei Luo. Furthermore, the other party clearly knew that Lei Luo was one of his people, yet they still dared to attack him. This was clearly not putting him in their eyes. The other party killed Lei Luo. This is not giving me face. I will definitely investigate this matter. Master, in the 9 prefectures continent, there are no deities. With Lei Luo's strength, it is impossible for anyone to kill him. Unless it was the 10-direction tripod or the other powers of the Martial Heaven continent. He Shou nodded. He had already thought of what his disciple had said. Who was it? Thinking about it, He Shou was still unable to determine who it was that wanted to go against him. For the other party to be able to kill Lei Luo meant that their strength was not simple. Martial Heaven continent. Longao, Long Ying, and the others had already entered the Martial Heaven continent after dozens of days of traveling. Everyone was shocked. They had not expected that there were 4 other continents outside of the 9 prefectures continent. Eastern Prefecture, Western Region, Southern Sea, Northern Plains, and Middle Martial Heaven continent. Eastern Prefecture, Western Region, Southern Sea, Northern Plains, and Middle Martial Heaven continent. Compared to the 5 continents, the Middle Martial Heaven continent was the strongest. That was because the 10-direction tripod were all located in the Middle Martial Heaven continent. Even the Southern Sea, which was the outer sea, was unable to contend against the Middle Martial Heaven continent. 7th brother, have you thought about where our dragon sect will be located? Longao nodded. Longao had already thought about the dragon sect's location. Before Longao could speak, Dugu Bai and Sheji walked over with a smile. Brother Long Ying has already become the dragon sect's master. Do you think it would be possible for me to become the dragon sect's vice master? Saying that he didn't want to climb up was definitely a lie. Dugu Bai and his wife were very clear that the dragon sect would definitely rise on the Martial Heaven continent in the future. At that time, their name would spread throughout the continent. If they could become the dragon sect's vice master, wouldn't they be able to bask in the glory? There was no need to even think about becoming the dragon sect's master. Even if Longao didn't want it, it wouldn't be his turn. After all, no matter how good their friendship was, Longao couldn't possibly give the position to an outsider. Dugu Bai had only asked this probingly. The position of the dragon sect's vice master was obvious. However, they hadn't expected that Longao would nod. All right. Brother Dugu, from now on, you will be the dragon sect's vice master. However, you won't be the only one. Please don't mind. He agreed. Dugu Bai suppressed his joy and nodded repeatedly. No problem. The Martial Heaven continent was too big. The best regions had already been occupied by the 10-direction cauldrons. The remaining regions were divided according to their strength. The Martial Heaven continent's powers were divided into first-rate, second-rate, third-rate, and fourth-rate powers. The 10-direction cauldrons were first-rate powers. As for the Black Wind Valley and the Clear Sky sect, they were slightly stronger fourth-rate powers and slightly weaker third-rate powers. Longao was very clear that with the dragon sect's current strength, even if they only had 500 divine dragon corpse slaves, they could still be considered a second-rate power. It was just that they didn't have any peak experts. Longao could almost be sure that the second-rate forces of the Sky Martial continent, even if they didn't have a Nirvana realm martial artist holding down the fort, they definitely had a supreme divine way martial artist holding down the fort. Therefore, unless it was a last resort, he still wouldn't go against the second-rate forces. The martial heaven continent's southeastern region. The place Longao had chosen was extremely far from the 10-direction cauldrons. Furthermore, Longao was preparing to act in a low-key manner at the beginning. Dragon Peak. Longao finally chose a barren mountain with a pretty good environment as the base camp of the dragon sect. Chapter 1098. Over 10,000 people built Longao at the same time. In just a few days, the Dragon Peak had changed a lot. The Dragon Peak. Big Brother Dugu, how's the investigation going? Brother Long, Master, I've already investigated. Dugu Bai picked up the teacup on the table and drank a few mouthfuls. He was sweating profusely. Around the Dragon Peak, there's only one fourth-rate force called the Skywolf Sect. Skywolf Sect. According to the information Dugu Bai had gathered, the two of them roughly knew about the Skywolf Sect. The Skywolf Sect was a fourth-rate force. The number one expert was the leader of the Skywolf Sect, Yi Xiao. He was a titled Great Sovereign and dominated the area. Longao was clear that if the Dragon Sect wanted to develop quietly, they had to deal with the Skywolf Sect first. Seventh brother, do you want to do it, or should I? As the master of the Dragon Sect, Long Ying was gradually acting like a master. Not to mention, the Dragon Sect now had 500 Divine Dragon Corps slaves. Any one of them could easily deal with the Skywolf Sect. Longao knew what his big brother meant. Big brother, 500 Divine Dragon Corps slaves. I believe you know what that means. The Long family can't know about this. Seventh brother, I understand. Big brother, with our current strength, we're still no match for the Long family. Unless it's absolutely necessary, we can't use the 500 Divine Dragon Corps slaves. Long Yin wasn't an idiot. He instantly understood what his seventh brother meant. Seventh brother, if that's the case, the Skywolf Sect can only be dealt with by you. Personally, Longao was clear that even with his current strength, he couldn't kill the leader of the Skywolf Sect. At the very least. If they didn't use the 500 Divine Dragon Corps slaves, the Dragon Sect couldn't even deal with a fourth-rate force with their current strength. However, the strongest cultivator in the Dragon Sect, Long Ying, had just reached the Great Sovereign stage. Could it be that they had to keep waiting like this? This time, there were over 1,000 inheritors of the Divine Tao, and Longao had brought half of them. According to the speed of refining the inheritance, it would take 10 years or even longer. Could the Dragon Sect wait? Longao lowered his head and pondered. Dugu Bai and Long Ying did not dare to say anything. They all looked at Longao. Long Ying and Dugu Bai looked at each other and sighed helplessly. The two of them were very clear in their hearts that it would not be easy to make a name for themselves in the Sky Martial continent. In the Sky Martial continent, there were countless experts and sects. Time trickled by. After an unknown amount of time, Longao finally raised his head and said, Big brother, I'll take care of the Heavenly Wolf Gang. It seems that the Dragon Sect situation is still a bit troublesome. Seventh brother, don't force things. We can wait. Big brother, I understand what you mean. After Longao left, he did not immediately search for the Heavenly Wolf Sect. He had already decided to take advantage of this time to set up a powerful array formation. Even if something happened to the Dragon Sect one day, the array formation might be able to withstand it. This time, Longao was prepared to set up the formation properly. Other than the Heavenly Wolf Gang, there was only one small city within 100 miles of Dragon Peak. Clear Sky Sect. Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu hurriedly entered the main hall. The two of them spoke at the same time with some urgency. Grandfather, we just received news that Longao entered the Long family's forbidden land, the origin of evil. He entered but did not come out. He has already fallen in the origin of evil. Yang Yu's expression was very calm. She coldly snorted and said, Longao is not dead. Longao is not dead. Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu were astonished when they heard their grandfather's words. How could the news from the Long clan be fake? Long family's forbidden land, the origin of evil, was something that both Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian knew very well. How many people who entered the origin of evil could come out alive? Grandfather, what exactly is going on? I have already locked onto Longao's position. If Longao had already fallen, how could I still lock onto him? So that was the case. Hearing that their grandfather had already locked onto Longao's position, Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu were pleasantly surprised. It did not matter if Longao had already fallen. If their grandfather personally made a move, Longao would definitely die. Grandfather, when do we make our move? Yang Dingtian was a little impatient. He could not wait to kill Longao immediately and take back the god-punishing sword. One day later. Qian will come out tomorrow. At that time, the four of us will occupy the four cardinal directions. I don't believe that Longao will be able to escape from our hands. Qian. Yang Dingtian felt a deep sense of helplessness when his daughter was mentioned. Until now, he still did not know why his grandfather wanted to drag Qian into this mess. However, their grandfather was very scary now. The two of them did not dare to speak. If their grandfather was in a bad mood and killed them, how could they seek justice? One day later, Longao used all his strength to set up the array. According to all the array formations in the Burning Sky array art, Longao still chose the previous 10 array formations. They were the so-called 9 heavens and 10 earths killing array, 10,000 ghosts devouring soul array, chaos everlasting array, nirvana void lifeless array, 3 lives 3 deaths soul dispersing array, hidden dragon divine annihilation array, 6 wheels ghost fiend array, limitless tornado illusion array, 12 divine fiends array, and 3 lives 3 deaths soul dispersing array. Not only that. In order to be foolproof, Longao not only set up the 10 array formations, but he also set up other array formations. First origin, second chi, third talent, fourth absolute, fifth element, sixth thorn, seventh star, 8 trigrams, 9th palace, 10th absolute, 36 celestial dipper, and 72 earthly fiends. With so many array formations, Longao had full confidence that even if a Supreme Dao warrior came, he would be able to block them. If he wanted to kill a Supreme Dao warrior, or a Supreme Dao warrior, he would have to break through to the Supreme Dao Array Master in his array formation realm. The ranks of Array Masters, from lowest to highest, were First Level Array Master, Second Level Array Master, Third Level Array Master, Fourth Level Array Master, Fifth Level Array Master, Sixth Level Array Master, Seventh Level Array Master, Eighth Level Array Master, Ninth Level Array Master, King Array Master, Emperor Array Master, Venerable Array Master, Emperor Array Master, and Divine Array Master. Longao was now only an Emperor Array Master. There was still a long way to go before he could become a Divine Array Master. An Emperor Array Master was only one step away from becoming a Divine Array Master. However, this step was as difficult as ascending to the sky. After all, the situation of an Array Master was different from a warrior. The talent required for an Array Master was more demanding than that of a warrior. He felt uneasy. Longao did not continue to set up array formations. After all, setting up array formations was not something that could be done overnight. He left the Dragon Peak and headed towards the only small city within 100 miles. The city was not big and could only accommodate 100,000 people. This was the Sky Wolf Gang's territory, so the Sky Wolf Gang had forcibly named this city Sky Wolf City. Chapter 1099. Inside Sky Wolf City. Longao was strolling on the streets and looking around absent-mindedly. Big brother Long, be careful. After hearing Bai Ling's reminder, Longao was very surprised. Bai Ling, what happened? Big brother Long, someone has been locking onto your position. Try to sense the spatial ripples in the surroundings. With Longao's strength, it was impossible for him to sense the spatial ripples in the surroundings and could only rely on his innate ability. As expected. Just like what Bai Ling said, the spatial ripples in the surroundings did have some abnormalities. Who was it? To be able to lock onto his position, It was obvious who the other party was with such strength. Longao didn't dare to be careless and had his guard up. Right at this moment, the spatial ripples and powerful aura descended. The spatial ripples were forcefully ripped open and 4 figures walked out. East, south, west, and north. The 4 of them were Yang Yu, Yang Dingtian, Yang Qian and Zhao Yu. The 4 of them broke through the spatial ripples and came here mainly because of the blood pool. Otherwise, even Tong Tiandi and the others wouldn't be able to break through the spatial ripples, let alone the 4 of them. Longao, I really want to see how you are going to escape from my palm today. This time, Yang Yu didn't choose to launch a sneak attack because in her opinion, Longao was already a turtle in a jar. If Longao was still able to escape, then they could just go and die. Qian. Ignoring Yang Yu and the others, Longao was very surprised. Why would Yang Qian come here? Furthermore, the 4 of them were all Supreme Dao martial artists. Especially Yang Yu, who had reached the Supreme Dao. At this moment, Yang Qian had an ice-cold expression because Yang Yu had already brainwashed her. In other words, Yang Qian didn't recognize anyone and was just like a killing tool. Yang Qian didn't reply. Yang Dingtian sneered and said coldly, Longao, I'll give you a chance. Hand over the god-punishing sword and I can leave your corpse intact. Otherwise, Yang Dingtian didn't finish his sentence, but the meaning behind his words was very clear. Longao's expression was very indifferent, but his heart was also very heavy. 4 divine Dao martial artists, not to mention 1 against 4, even if it was a one-on-one situation, it was impossible for him to be the other party's match. Longao had already attempted to enter the dragon seal space. Without a doubt, they were unable to enter. Longao had already guessed that Yang Yu had come prepared this time. Otherwise, it was impossible for Yang Yu not to launch a sneak attack. They were in big trouble now. Godslayer sword. God-slaying sword. I'll give you a strand of hair, do you want it? Longao's meaning was already very clear. He did not put these 4 people in his eyes at all. If it were other people who were besieged by 4 Supreme Dao martial artists, not to mention ignoring them, it would already be very good if they were not scared to death. You are courting death. Without continuing with the nonsense, the 4 of them moved at the same time. They attacked from all 4 directions at the same time. Yang Yu and the others were very confident. With the 4 of them working together, it was almost a matter of minutes for them to kill Longao. As for the god-punishing mirror, as long as they killed Longao, it would also be a matter of minutes for them to take back the Godslayer sword. It was 1 against 4. Longao didn't dare to choose to meet force with force. It was fine as long as they could leave smoothly. It was precisely because of this that Longao immediately released his innate ability, Dragon Roar. When the Dragon Roar echoed, the 4 of them suddenly realized that the flow of time around them had changed. Furthermore, their bodies had been forcefully locked. There was even a powerful force that was devouring their divine soul. What exactly was happening? In an instant, Yang Yu and the others already knew what was happening. Longao was a disciple of the Long family. It was very normal for him to have an innate ability. However, the 3 of them never expected that Longao's innate ability would actually be so powerful. Longao was looking for a breakthrough. Taking advantage of the 1 second when the 4 of them were locked down, Longao broke out of the encirclement. With his fastest speed, he rushed forward. Kill. Since things had already reached this point, Yang Yu naturally wouldn't let Longao go. Just like this, the 4 of them began to chase after Longao. Both sides, 1 in front and 1 behind, disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. There was no one around. The strength of both sides was too strong. Even an ordinary person would know what had happened. Just as both sides left, many heads popped out. Each of them swallowed their saliva fiercely. Such a terrifying aura was indeed a little terrifying. The people around understood the principle of being implicated. Longao. Long your sister. With a flip of his hand, 100 feet long sword chi slashed out. Even the 4 of them didn't dare to face this move. After all, the sword chi released by Longao was too terrifying. If the 4 of them were to face it head-on, they would probably be obliterated by the sword chi. Longao's strength was inferior to the four of them, but his speed wasn't inferior to them. Brother Long, my sister and I will help you. Inject power? Of course, Longao knew the consequences of forcefully borrowing the power of two Genling. Unless it was a last resort, he definitely wouldn't want to borrow the power of two Genling. As if she knew what Longao was thinking, Bai Ling continued, Brother Long, my sister and I will help you with our sword chi. Even if we can't kill the four of them, I believe it will be more than enough to force them away. So that's how it is. Before Longao was ready, two terrifying sword chi had already entered his body and flowed into his hands. The god-slaying sword appeared. Without any hesitation, Longao roared and slashed out fiercely. With the help of Xiling and Bai Ling, Longao's sword chi condensed from 100 feet to a few feet. The power had increased by 3 times. What kind of concept was this? There wasn't the slightest bit of sword chi flowing. Because of this, the four of them were shocked and didn't dare to continue chasing. Instead, they hurriedly dodged. Dodging didn't matter. Longao took advantage of this opportunity to speed up and escape. Feeling that there was no longer any spatial disturbance, Longao immediately used spatial teleportation to escape. After a few ups and downs, he disappeared without a trace. After successfully dodging the sword chi, Yang Yu and the other 3 looked at Longao's disappearing figure. Their faces were extremely gloomy and ugly. The 4 of them had joined forces to seal off the 4 directions of the north, south, east, and west, but Longao still managed to escape. They could really go and die. Grandfather. Slap. Before Yang Dingtian could react, a slap landed on his face. Yang Dingtian was a little dizzy and didn't know what he had done wrong. Zhao Yu didn't even dare to let out a fart. He stood at the side trembling with fear. Longao's departure this time, Yang Yu was definitely furious to the extreme. Provoking Yang Yu at this time was simply courting death. H. Useless things. You can't even let Longao escape like this. If there's a next time, I'll kill you. F***ck, what does it have to do with us? Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian were shocked. Who did the 2 of them offend? But the 2 of them didn't dare to say anything. P.S. The remaining 3 chapters will be delivered later. Thank you for your generous rewards. Tomorrow, I'll send you another 10 chapters. Thank you very much. Chapter 1100. Longao did not return to the Dragon Peak. Until now, Longao still did not know how Yang Yu was able to locate him so many times. If he returned to the Dragon Peak and Yang Yu arrived, how could the Dragon Sect defend against Yang Yu? At the peak of the barren mountain, Longao stood there quietly as the cold wind blew past. He heaved a sigh of relief as he recalled what had just happened. If it were not for Xiling and Bai Ling's help, he would have died in a 1 versus 4 situation. Brother Long, the opponent is very powerful. My sister and I can only treat the symptoms but not the root cause. Seeing Bai Ling appear beside him, Longao shrugged his shoulders helplessly. Bai Ling, do you have a way to avoid being located? It was not a good idea to continue like this. If Yang Yu's sneak attack succeeded, he would be in big trouble. He thought for a while. Sister, do you have a way? As soon as Bai Ling finished her words, Xiling appeared. Longao, if I'm not wrong, there must be a connection between you and this person. Otherwise, he would not be able to locate you and arrive here. The blood pool. Needless to say, Longao already knew that Yang Yu was able to locate him because of the blood pool. According to Long Fu, the Clear Sky sect had a remnant power of the blood pool. Since things had already come to this point, Longao did not hide anything anymore. He recounted the matter of the blood pool in full detail. Bai Ling and Xiling were stunned. The 2 obviously knew about the origin of the blood pool, but they did not point it out. Longao, there is no other way. If you can go to the Clear Sky sect and destroy the remnant power of the blood pool, then I can be sure that this person will not be able to locate you. Regarding the meaning of what Xiling said, Longao basically understood. Destroy the remnant power of the blood pool? However, Yang Yu must be looking for him all over the world. She could not wait to lock onto his location. If he went to the Supreme Sky Sect at this time, wouldn't he be like a lamb in a tiger's den? Brother Long, what are you going to do? Let's head to the Clear Sky Sect. Longao had already decided that this matter had to be resolved as soon as possible. Otherwise, trouble would come from afar in the future. No one knew when Yang Yu would lock onto his location. What if Yang Yu suddenly appeared while he was in the Dragon Sect? Wouldn't they be implicated? It was precisely because of this that Longao decided that no matter how dangerous the situation ahead was, he had to take the risk and head to the Supreme Sky Sect to destroy the remnant energy of the blood pool and resolve the problem once and for all. Brother Long, before Bai Ling could say anything, Xiling had already pulled Bai Ling and disappeared into the Godslayer sword. The night passed in silence. The next morning, Longao still did not return to the Dragon Peak. Instead, he used spatial teleportation to rush to the Supreme Sky Sect at his fastest speed. Back thrust. Yang Yu and the other two would never have thought that the target they had been targeting would head to the Supreme Sky Sect, their headquarters. If Yang Yu and the other two knew about this, who knew if they would choose to believe it? As the saying went, the most dangerous place was also the safest place. Longao did not return to the Dragon Peak. Instead, he brought the news back to the Dragon Sect. The general meaning was that at this time, if there was nothing important, they should not act rashly. After receiving the news, Du Gubai and Long Ying did not know what Longao meant. However, the two of them still followed Longao's instructions. Although Long Ying and Du Gubai were the master and deputy master of the Dragon Sect, strictly speaking, the real boss of the Dragon Sect was still Longao. Both Long Ying and Du Gubai had to step aside. Not only the two of them, but everyone else also understood this point. Supreme Sky Sect. The current Supreme Sky Sect was no longer the same as before. It was heavily guarded. No one could enter the Supreme Sky Sect without permission. With Longao's strength, it was easy for him to enter the Supreme Sky Sect. After entering the Supreme Sky Sect, Longao was almost certain that Yang Yu and the other three had not returned to the Supreme Sky Sect yet. This way, he could do his own things better. Longao had already been to the cave once. This time, it could be said that he was very familiar with the place. Inside the cave, there was a medium-sized blood pool in the middle of the cave. It was almost identical to the blood pool in the Dragon Seal space. However, the two blood pools were different. The blood pool in the Supreme Sky Sect was only the remnant energy of the blood pool. Long Fu, how should I destroy this blood pool? It was better to ask Long Fu about this matter. No matter what, the Dragon Seal space sealed the blood pool. Xiao Chen believed that Long Fu would have a way to deal with the blood pool. If even Long Fu could not do it, who could? Master, it is almost impossible to destroy the remnant energy of the blood pool. Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao cursed in his heart. If the remnant energy of the blood pool could not be destroyed, didn't that mean that Yang Yu could lock onto him at any time? If that was the case, then this matter was really troublesome. Not to mention his own safety, what about his family? Could it be that he would not see his family for the rest of his life? Master, there is only one way now, and that is to fight poison with poison. Borrow the energy of the blood pool in the Dragon Seal space and directly devour the remnant energy of the blood pool in front of you. There is no other way. Long Fu, how confident are you? 10. Damn, since it has already come to this, then what is there for me to worry about? Needless to say, Long Fu knew what to do and immediately started to act. According to Long Fu, it would take about a day for the Dragon Seal space's true body blood pool to devour the remnant energy of the blood pool in the cave. Longao stood guard beside the blood pool because he was not sure when Yang Yu and the other three would return. If they returned at this time, it would affect the absorption of the remnant energy of the blood pool. He hoped that Yang Yu and the other three would not return in time. Within the Clear Sky Sect, Yang Yu and the other three had successfully returned. Their faces were gloomy. This time, the four of them did not succeed in killing Longao. The four of them were extremely depressed. If this matter were to spread, they would be laughed at. From now on, the three of you will help me lock onto Longao. Next time, no matter what happens, I will not let Longao escape. If it was just Longao, Yang Yu might have given up. However, the problem now was that Longao had taken away the Clear Sky Sect's treasure, the God-slaying sword. Therefore, Yang Yu was so determined to lock onto Longao's location. Yang Yu, who had just stepped into the Clear Sky Sect, suddenly changed her expression. She said coldly, "To think that someone dares to mess with me. Let's go." Yang Yu did not expect that someone would dare to come to the Clear Sky Sect and enter the cave. Could it be for the blood pool? P.S. The remaining 2 chapters were updated after midnight and took an entire day to write. Xiao Ju rested for a while and ate some instant noodles. I will continue writing later. Chapter 1101. Supreme Sky Sect. Inside the cave. Longao, who was guarding beside the blood pool, had a drastic change in expression as he cursed in his heart. He didn't dare to be careless and immediately entered the dragon seal space. Longao was confident that no matter how powerful Yang Yu and the others were, it was impossible for them to enter the dragon seal space or even sense the existence of the dragon seal space. When Longao's body disappeared, Yang Yu and the others had already entered the cave. "Grandfather, what happened?" Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu were very curious as they didn't know what was going on with their grandfather. There's someone. Zhao Yu and Yang Dingtian didn't dare to be careless and immediately began to search the cave. But after searching for a while, they still couldn't find the 5th person. Could Yang Yu have sensed wrongly? Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu didn't dare to speak as they stood by the side with fear and trepidation. Yang Yu stood in the cave and looked at the blood pool in front of her. Her face was extremely gloomy and was as ugly as it could get. She clearly sensed that someone had entered the cave and moved the blood pool. But at this moment, there was no movement and no one. Could she have sensed wrongly? Something isn't right. Just as Yang Yu was about to enter the blood pool, the situation suddenly changed. The blood pool that didn't have any movement earlier suddenly had blood bubbles rolling like boiling water. What exactly happened? May I know who you are? Yang Yu, didn't you always want to find me? Longao. Hearing Longao's voice, Yang Yu and the others were astonished as they could only hear the voice and couldn't see the person. How did he do it? Inside the dragon seal space. Longao sneered. No matter what, he definitely wouldn't go out. If he couldn't return, wouldn't it be like trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it? Longao, if you have the ability, come out. Why are you sneaking around? Yang Yu couldn't understand why Longao would dare to appear here and only hear the voice but not see the person. Yang Yu, stop wasting time here. I will let you die without a burial ground later. The more mysterious Longao was, the more uncertain Yang Yu was. Could it be that Longao was confident in killing her? Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu looked at each other. They could see the shock and disbelief in each other's eyes. The remnants of the blood pool were completely devoured right under Yang Yu's nose. Yang Yu was powerless to do anything about it. One could only imagine how she felt. Longao, if you have the ability, then come out. The blood pool was the foundation of the Supreme Sky Sect. Yang Yu was not a fool. She knew that without the blood pool, not to mention the Supreme Sky Sect's strength, the Supreme Sky Sect would lose the chance to dominate the Tianwu continent. Yang Yu wished she could skin Longao alive, chop him up and feed him to the dogs. However, Longao did not appear from the beginning to the end. If he did not see it with his own eyes, he would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. Inside the Dragon Seal spatial zone, Longao let out a breath of relief after completely devouring the remaining energy of the blood pool. Without the help of the blood pool, it was impossible for Yang Yu to continue to lock onto him. As for dealing with Yang Yu, Longao had brought 10 divine dragon corpse slaves with him. It was impossible to kill Yang Yu, but it was more than enough to kill the others. Eliminate the Supreme Sky Sect. Now that things had developed to this stage, there was no other way but to eliminate the Supreme Sky Sect. It was still the same saying. If you don't remove the roots, it will grow again. Yang Yu, didn't you want to fight with me? Do you dare? Yang Yu was trying to use reverse psychology to lure Longao out. Otherwise, if Longao didn't come out for the rest of his life, he wouldn't be able to kill Longao no matter how powerful he was. Furthermore, it was unknown what method Longao used to make the blood pool vanish. Even if it was for the blood pool and the god-punishing mirror, he had to find Longao. Yang Yu, if you are capable, come with me alone. Longao borrowed the puppet and left the cave with his aura. Yang Yu told him to stay behind and wait for her. Immediately after, she followed the aura and chased after him. Endless anger turned into endless killing aura and surged out. After Yang Yu left, there were only 3 people left in the cave. Yang Dingtian, Yang Chen and Zhao Yu. Longao. When they saw Longao suddenly appearing in front of them, both Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu had an extremely gloomy expression. They had already guessed what Longao was trying to do. It was to lure the tiger away from the mountain. They looked at each other and saw a trace of contempt in each other's eyes. So what if Longao was trying to lure the tiger away from the mountain? In the end, Longao was just a puny the arch-martial artist. In front of them, Longao was just like an ant. Longao, with just you? Death is not worth pitying. Longao shook his head helplessly. He looked at the 2 people in front of him as though he was looking at 2 pitiful worms. Could Longao really have some trump cards? Zhao Yu, kill him for me. F*** Zhao Yu cursed in his heart and looked at Yang Dingtian with disdain. But with their status and strength, even if Zhao Yu was unwilling, he could only brace himself and do it. 2 supreme Dao martial artists were afraid of a single the arch martial artist. If such a matter was spread out, no one would believe it. No matter what, the gap between the arch martial artist and a supreme Dao martial artist was obvious. Zhao Yu took a big step forward and rushed forward. Before he arrived, his murderous aura had already arrived. Zhao Yu didn't want to waste any time. At this moment, a dragon's roar rang out. Zhao Yu left quickly, but returned even faster. Furthermore, he was sent flying backwards, crashing heavily onto the ground. His breathing was shallow, and his breathing was shallow. His eyes closed, and his legs kicked out. Zhao Yu was instantly killed. Looking at the corpse on the ground, Yang Dingtian swallowed his saliva as though he had seen a ghost. A giant divine dragon appeared in the cave. It wasn't just one divine dragon, there were a total of 10 divine dragons that occupied the entire cave. When he sensed the powerful dragon aura emitted from the 10 divine dragons, Yang Dingtian finally knew why Longao was so confident. It turned out that he had the assistance of the 10 divine dragons. Yang Dingtian couldn't figure out where Longao found the 10 divine dragons. After all, he knew clearly what the 10 divine dragons meant. Longao. Longao waved his hand and didn't give Yang Dingtian any chance to talk nonsense. He smiled and said, Yang Dingtian, it's useless to be afraid. But I can give you a chance. Kill yourself here and I will leave your corpse intact. Longao took a glance at Yang Chenna beside him and sighed deeply in his heart. No matter what, he wouldn't hurt Yang Chenna. After all, Yang Chenna was the most innocent from the beginning to the end. Author's note, Chapter 14 has been delivered. Xiao Zhu will try to hurry up with the last chapter. I hope everyone will vote for Longao. Thank you. Chapter 1102. Longao, don't be too arrogant. He didn't want to speak any more nonsense. He used the puppets and chi presents to lure Yang Yu away. No one knew when Yang Yu would return. 10 divine dragon corpse slaves swarmed over and didn't give Yang Dingtian any chance to escape. They instantly drowned him. After settling Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu, Longao took a deep look at Yang Chenna. The grudges between you and me shall be written off. Longao didn't kill Yang Chenna. No matter what, Yang Chenna had helped him before. Furthermore, Yang Chenna didn't have a choice in this moment. Longao left the cave. A few minutes later, Yang Yu returned. Looking at the 2 corpses on the ground, Yang Yu already knew what had happened. Longao had played a dirty trick on her and lured her away so that he could kill Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu. How did Longao do it? Yang Yu might not know how Longao killed the two of them, but she could guess that Longao didn't have the confidence to deal with her. Otherwise, he wouldn't have lured her away. The god-punishing sword was lost. The blood pool had vanished. Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu were dead. All of this was thanks to Longao. Originally, the Supreme Sky Sect had a chance to rise, but now, everything was stifled. Longao, no matter where you go, I will tear you into pieces. Longao didn't leave the Supreme Sky Sect. Longao wasn't a fool. So what if he killed Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu? After all, his biggest threat was Yang Yu. As long as Yang Yu didn't die, she would always be a threat. That was the case. Longao didn't leave the Supreme Sky Sect. No matter what, he had to kill Yang Yu and eliminate all future troubles. Yang Yu was a supreme god Dao martial artist. Longao knew clearly that he couldn't kill Yang Yu by himself even with the help of 10 divine dragon corpse slaves. What should he do? Outer Sea. Crystal Palace at the bottom of the sea. Long Batian's body was covered in blood, and he was on the verge of collapsing. Long Batian heaved a sigh of relief when he arrived at the Crystal Palace. What happened to you? At this point, Master God Diviner appeared. Shocked to see Long Batian in such a state, he quickly helped him into the Crystal Palace. The God Diviner was extremely clear about Long Batian's power. In the entire Martial Heaven continent, there was probably no one who could injure him. So who could it be? Master Clairvoyant, we're in big trouble now. Half an hour passed. After hearing this, Master God Diviner's expression turned unsightly. Everything was fine, but you just had to cause trouble. Let's see how you're going to deal with this. Rolling his eyes, Long Batian said, now is not the time to talk about this. Tell me, what should we do now? Long Batian seemed to be very anxious. After all, the situation was urgent. What else can we do? We can only find the heavenly Tao and sit down together to see what we should do. At this point, Long Batian and Master God Diviner rose to their feet and left the Crystal Palace, flying off into the distance. The Clear Sky Sect, in a rather hidden cave. Longao had been thinking of all kinds of methods to kill Yang Yu. However, no matter how he thought about it, he still couldn't think of a way to kill her. Longao was a bit stubborn. After all, the remnant energy of the blood pool had been devoured. Even if he left now, Yang Yu wouldn't be able to use the remnant energy of the blood pool to lock onto his position. In Longao's view, as long as Yang Yu didn't die, she would always be a huge problem for him. It was still the same saying. If you cut the grass without removing the roots, it would grow again when the spring breeze blew. In the Sword Sect. Patriarch, the news has been confirmed. Longao entered the forbidden area of the Long clan, the origin of evil. He entered but did not come out. Yi Xian also didn't quite believe it. However, the truth was right in front of him. He had no choice but to believe it. He let out a deep sigh. For Longao to be able to meet the old ancestor, it already shows Longao's talent and potential. If you say that Longao has already fallen, I will absolutely not believe it. Master, this news shouldn't be false. Great Elder, I'll have to trouble you to personally make a trip to the Long clan. I believe that you should know that the Long clan's news might not be true due to the power struggle. Yi Xian was a bit surprised. He couldn't figure out why the master would treat Longao like this. Wasn't he a bit too concerned? The Martial Artists Alliance also received the news. Shanghai Ie was very happy. Needless to say, Hades found Tong Tiendi and said straightforwardly, Alliance Master, I hope that the news of Longao's death can be kept from Yu Yin. Otherwise, I'm worried about Yu Yin. Although Hades didn't finish his sentence, the meaning behind his words was very clear. Yu Yin couldn't know about this. With the relationship between Yu Yin and Longao, the consequences would be unimaginable if Yu Yin knew about it. Very few people know about this. I'll keep the news a secret. However, I still don't believe that Longao has died. Master, what are you going to do? Send someone to the Long family. Longao, who was in the Clear Sky Sect, didn't expect that many people would go to the Long family because of his failure to leave the origin of evil. If news of this spread, no one would believe it. At this moment, Longao was still in the Clear Sky sect. He was thinking of all kinds of ways to kill Yang Yu and get rid of the problem once and for all. Xiling, is there any way to kill a supreme Dao martial artist? Left with no choice, Longao could only ask Violet Spirit. That was because it was still the same. Just by relying on his own strength, even with the addition of 10 corpse slaves, it was still impossible to kill Yang Yu. The difference in cultivation realm was very difficult to make up for with other things. Xiling and Bai Ling appeared and shook their heads. Xiling said helplessly, Longao, you should know what the difference in cultivation level means. You can't do it, and neither can my sister. If you want to kill Yang Yu, you have to borrow the power of heaven and earth. What do you mean? Longao, no matter how powerful a martial artist is, even the heavenly Dao can't compete with the power of heaven and earth. Therefore, we can borrow the power of heaven and earth to kill Yang Yu. Aren't you a formation master? Yimo nodded. You can set up a formation. When the time comes, my sister and I will think of a way to attract the 9 heavens divine thunder for you. I want to see how Yang Yu can withstand it. So that's how it is. Longao had used this trick before. Long Fu had also borrowed the power of heaven and earth to help Longao fight against many powerful martial artists. Longao didn't expect that Xiling would use the same trick. Xiling, what kind of formation should I set up? With Longao's current level of formation skills, he could set up hundreds of formations. Which one should he choose? Author's note: 15 chapters have been delivered. 10 chapters will continue tomorrow. Mainly to thank Brother Xiong for his generous gifts. I'm a little tired today, so I'll sleep in tomorrow. Xiaoju, try to wake up early. Hope everyone can forgive me. Chapter 1103. The Million Ancestral Swords Formation. Brother Long, with me as the eye of the formation, we can easily kill Yang Yu with the power of heaven and earth. Hearing Bai Ling's words, Longao was shocked. Before Longao could speak, Xiling snorted. Bai Ling, do you want to die? Xiling, what's going on? Although Longao didn't know what the consequences would be, with Bai Ling as the eye of the formation, it would definitely be bad for Bai Ling otherwise, Xiling wouldn't be so nervous. The power of heaven and earth isn't a joke. If we're not careful, we'll disappear. Bai Ling, you can't do this. Longao wanted to kill Yang Yu, but if it was at the cost of Bai Ling's life, he would rather die than agree. Longao, with my sister and I as the eye of the formation, I believe we can resist the power of heaven and earth. Longao wanted to say something, but Xiling and Bai Ling had already made up their minds. In the following days, Longao used all his strength to set up the Million Ancestral Swords formation. With the understanding of the sword principle from last time, Longao could set it up with ease. If it was just the Million Ancestral Swords formation, it would be impossible to kill Yang Yu. After all, the power of heaven and earth couldn't be triggered easily. However, the situation was completely different now. With Bai Ling and Xiling as the eye of the formation, the power of the Million Ancestral Swords formation skyrocketed. The chances of triggering the power of heaven and earth also increased. 3 days later. Longao, you really don't know what's good for you. How dare you come back? Looking at Longao, who suddenly appeared in front of her, Yang Yu was a little surprised. However, she was mostly surprised. Without the blood pool, she couldn't lock onto Longao's position. It was easier said than done to find a person in a sea of people. Since she offered herself to him, it would be a waste not to take it. However, Longao smiled and extended his finger and shook it gently. Yang Yu, I believe you have already seen the outcome of Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu. I can guarantee you that your outcome will be the same as theirs. His expression froze. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for Longao to kill Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu with his strength. The difference in strength between the two sides was too great. They were not on the same level at all. And the result? In just a few minutes, Longao had defeated Yang Dingtian and Zhao Yu. What kind of concept was this? Sensing back and forth, Yang Yu was almost certain that Longao was absolutely not a supreme Dao martial artist. Since that was the case, How did he kill two supreme Dao martial artists? The more confident Longao was, the more uncertain Yang Yu felt. Could it be that Longao really had the ability to deal with him? Yang Yu still couldn't believe it. However, Longao had returned. If he didn't have full confidence, would Longao do this? Are you scared? Ha ha ha, why would I be scared? After laughing, Yang Yu pointed to the 9 heavens and suddenly said, Longao, clear heaven and earth. Today, I will let you witness the prowess of the blood pool clone. Before Yang Yu could make a move, Longao had already turned and left. Now that things had reached this stage, would Yang Yu let Longao off so easily? Yang Yu gave chase. The place where Longao set up the sect origin swords array was at the middle of the mountain of the Supreme Sky Sect. After entering the array, Longao didn't continue to run. He turned and looked at Yang Yu, who had also stopped. Longao, aren't you running? If I leave, who will kill you? Kill me. Looking at the young man in front of him, Yang Yu really wanted to laugh. However, in the next moment, Yang Yu already knew what was going on. He said in surprise, so you are an array master. However, Longao, the gap between us is too big. Even if it is an array, what can you do to me? As a supreme Dao martial artist, Yang Yu was full of confidence. Not to mention a small Great Emperor realm martial artist, even if there was a supreme Dao martial artist here, he could kill them instantly. As for the array, he didn't care about it at all. The moment Longao stepped into the array, he had already activated it. With Bai Ling and Xiling as the eye of the array, the sect origin swords array was surrounded by countless sword chi, constantly attacking Yang Yu. The power of the sword chi was very strong. An ordinary supreme Dao martial artist wouldn't be able to last more than 3 minutes in the array. Ha ha ha, Longao, you have overestimated yourself. Blood pool clone. With a loud roar, Yang Yu's body suddenly released a terrifying bloody aura. In the blink of an eye, Yang Yu's entire body had turned blood red, as if he had entered a vat of dye. Longao had never expected that Yang Yu's strength would soar in an instant. Xiling and Bai Ling didn't dare to be careless. They immediately used the array to activate the power of heaven and earth. Rumble, rumble. Dark clouds suddenly covered the sky above the clear sky sect. With a loud crack, a clap of thunder resounded through the sky and earth. Longao was also shocked. He was fully aware of the array that he had set up. It seemed that Xiling and Bai Ling's strength was above his estimation. It was hard to imagine how powerful Xiling and Bai Ling's peak original body would be. The 9 heavens divine thunder and countless sword chi attacked Yang Yu at the same time. Yang Yu was as steady as Mount Tai. He withstood the attacks of the heavenly thunder and sword chi. Seeing this, Longao was dumbfounded. Yang Yu's physical defense was too abnormal. Master, you have to leave quickly. I didn't expect that this person had already absorbed the remaining power of the blood pool. He is no longer Yang Yu, but a blood pool clone. You can't compete with him in terms of defense or strength. Hearing Long Fu's anxious voice, Longao knew what had happened. Since that was the case, he didn't dare to stay any longer. He turned around and left. However, before he left, he forcefully kept Bai Ling and Xiling into the Godslayer sword. Yang Yu's strength was too terrifying. If Xiling and Bai Ling were at their peak, of course, they could ignore Yang Yu. Unfortunately, Xiling and Bai Ling could only be devoured by Yang Yu in their current condition. The consequences would be unimaginable. Just as Longao was about to use spatial teleportation to leave, he suddenly felt a terrifying bloody aura directly enveloping him. Before he could react, his entire body was pulled up from the ground. Like a kite with a broken string, he was ruthlessly thrown out. With the sacred body of desolation, Longao was only seriously injured. He didn't die. If it were anyone else, that would be enough to kill them. Because of this, Yang Yu saw that Longao didn't die. His face was a little pale and he continued to attack. He stood up with difficulty. At this moment, Longao felt that his internal organs had been displaced. He endured the pain in his body and didn't dare to stay any longer. He took a big step forward and teleported away. Longao, Weren't you very arrogant just now? Fight me if you have the ability. Ha 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 ha. Yang Yu laughed crazily. In the end, he still lost track of Longao. P.S. I just woke up and started writing immediately. Brothers, vote for Longao with your monthly votes and recommendation votes. Thank you. Chapter 1104. In the Dragon Seal Space. Longao sat on the ground, paralyzed. Thinking about it scared him. Until now, Longao did not expect Yang Yu to be so powerful. Blood Pool Clone. Long Fu, what's the Blood Pool Clone? Long Fu's face was solemn. He said helplessly, the Blood Pool Clone is a gathering of the Blood Pool's power. It's very powerful. Unless we use the Blood Pool to destroy it, otherwise. At this point, Long Fu suddenly paused. Long Fu, what's wrong? Master, the God-killing sword and the Blood Pool are mutually exclusive. It's hard to believe that we can use the Blood Pool to destroy Yang Yu, but we can use the God-killing sword. God-killing sword. Long Fu then told Longao how to deal with Yang Yu. Longao did not go out. He hid in the Dragon Seal Space to recover. 2 days later. Xiling, Bai Ling, are you okay? Even with the help of the million ancestral swords array set up by Xiling and Bai Ling and the power of heaven and earth, they could not defeat Yang Yu. Xiling and Bai Ling shook their heads to show that they were fine. Longao, Yang Yu's power is beyond our imagination. You should give up for now and try again in the future when you have the chance. Regarding Xiling's meaning, Longao knew it clearly. Longao did not hide anything from Xiling and Bai Ling. He told them what he was going to do next. Just as Longao was about to attack Yang Yu, the entire Clear Sky sect exploded. In the blink of an eye, the Clear Sky sect was in ruins. Longao stood in front of the ruins. He did not know what had happened. Had Yang Yu died? Longao, Xiling, Bai Ling, and Long Fu couldn't sense Yang Yu's aura. This meant that Yang Yu had either died or left the Clear Sky sect. Since things had come to this point, Longao could only choose to leave. He had a feeling that Yang Yu was not dead. As for why the Supreme Sky sect suddenly turned into ruins, there seemed to be something fishy going on. The Supreme Sky sect suddenly turned into ruins. Longao did not continue to stay in the Supreme Sky sect. Dragon Peak. After Longao returned to the Dragon sect, he did not say anything. Neither Gudu Bai nor Longying dared to ask. Big brother, how is the Dragon sect? Seventh brother, it's about time. As long as we take care of the Heavenly Wolf Gang, our Dragon sect will be the absolute ruler of the area within 100 miles. The Heavenly Wolf Gang was a fourth-rate force, and the gang leader was a titled Great Emperor. If Xiao Chen did not use the Divine Dragon Corpse Slave, it would be impossible to kill the Heavenly Wolf Gang's gang leader. It was still that sentence, unless there was no other choice. Longao absolutely would not utilize the Divine Dragon Corpse Slave. If the dragon race found out about the Divine Dragon Corpse Slave, the consequences would be unimaginable. Seventh brother, I know what you mean. However, we don't have much time. Under such circumstances, we can only use the Divine Dragon Corpse Slave. Seeing Longao pondering with his head lowered, Longying continued, Seventh brother, I will handle this matter carefully. I will not leave any problems behind. Xiao Chen sighed deeply in his heart. The master of the Dragon sect was his big brother. Longao knew that if his big brother asked him about everything, how could he be the master? Not to mention, since his big brother had already said so, Xiao Chen could not go back on his words. Big brother, you are already the master of the Dragon sect. As long as it is not a matter of life and death for the Dragon sect, you can make all the decisions. After I finish setting up all the formations, I will leave the Dragon sect. From today onwards, the Dragon sect will be in your hands. Seventh brother, you are leaving? He was not surprised at all. Longying was very clear about his identity. If it were not for his seventh brother, he would be nothing as the sect master of the Dragon sect. Seventh brother, the Tianwu continent is filled with danger. You have already fallen. If you leave rashly, I am afraid that many people will choose to deal with you. How could Longao not know what his big brother meant? Big brother, I have many things to do. I will say the same thing again. Step by step. Since the conversation had already reached this point, Long Ying could only nod and express agreement. Next, Long Ying and Dugu Bai personally took action. They led the 2 divine dragon corpse slaves to the heavenly wolf gang. As for Longao, he continued to set up the formations. After all, the formations were very important to the dragon sect after he left. The heavenly wolf gang was a unique existence within 100 miles. No one dared to provoke the heavenly wolf gang. However, the heavenly wolf gang's reputation was not good. Although everyone was angry, they did not dare to say anything. Especially the people of Heavenly Wolf City, they hated the heavenly wolf gang. In one night, the heavenly wolf gang was destroyed. It was as if they had disappeared from the face of the earth. The people of Heavenly Wolf City were all talking about the destruction of the Heavenly Wolf Gang. Before the people of Heavenly Wolf City could react, a sect called the Dragon Sect silently entered Heavenly Wolf City. Many people were unconvinced. They had sent the Heavenly Wolf Gang away with great difficulty. How many people would be willing to accept a new Dragon Sect? However, Long Ying did not give them a chance. In a short day, he had completely taken care of Heavenly Wolf City. It had to be said that Long Ying and Dugu Bai were born leaders. In a short month, the Dragon Sect was managed in an orderly manner by the 2 of them. Regarding the 2 people's management ability, Longao saw it in his eyes and could be considered to be relieved. After a month of setting up the array, all of the array formations were finally completed. Big brother Dugu, I am preparing to leave the sect tomorrow. I will leave the Dragon Sect to you. The 2 of them already knew that Longao had made up his mind. Therefore, the 2 of them did not try to persuade him in the slightest. They only said a few words to be careful. The next morning, Longao had already left the Dragon Sect. Longao had changed his appearance. Even if someone familiar saw him, they might not be able to recognize him. Longao wanted to use this opportunity to complete all the remaining matters. Among all the matters, the most important was to increase his strength. Without great strength, it would be difficult to move around in the Tianwu continent. Purple Grade Great Emperor Realm. Longao was preparing to break through from the Purple Grade Great Emperor Realm to the Black Grade Great Emperor Realm as soon as possible. The Tianwu continent was divided into 10 factions. The Long Family, the Alchemy Guild, the Martial Artists Alliance, the WN Show Sect, the Heaven and Earth Sect, the 5 Elements Sect, the Wanzhan School, the Sword Sect, the Purple Thunder Sect, and the Black Heaven Sect. Among the 10 factions, Longao finally chose the 5 Elements Sect. According to Xiling, if he wanted to continue cultivating the 5 Elements Heaven-devouring incantation, he had to go to the 5 Elements Sect and learn their martial techniques. He hoped to have a breakthrough. As for the Heavenly Devouring incantation, he had already learned it. It was only a matter of time before he reached the peak. 2 Primal Chaos Stone Tablets, 2 Peerless Martial Techniques. That was why Longao decided to go to the 5 Elements Sect to see if it could help him. Chapter 1105. The Tianwu continent was divided into 10 factions. The sect master of the 5 Elements Sect, Sima II, was one of the strongest experts in the Tianwu continent. The 5 Elements Sect was divided into 5 branches: the Metal Element Sect, the Wood Element Sect, the Water Element Sect, the Fire Element Sect, and the Earth Element Sect. Each of the 5 branches had their own sect master, who was also the deputy sect master of the 5 Elements Sect. The 5 Elements Sect was different from the other superpowers. Other than the 5 branches, there were no other branches in the 5 Elements Sect. For example, the Martial Artists Alliance had countless branches, the Sword Sect, and the Wanzhan School. After 10 days of traveling, Longao finally arrived at the territory of the 5 Elements Sect. As soon as he stepped into the 5 Elements City, Longao met a familiar face. Shapotian. Previously at the Heavenly Path Mountain, Shapotian was besieged by hundreds of divine beasts. It seemed that Shapotian's strength was not simple. Even so, he could easily leave the Heavenly Path Mountain. Shapotian was a disciple of the WAN Show sect. Why would he appear in the Five Elements city? Under Longao's curiosity, he quietly followed. Shapotian was a supreme Dao peak martial artist. He was only one step away from the Nirvana realm. Whether it was his strength or speed, they were all there. If it was an ordinary person, it would be impossible to follow Shapotian. However, Longao was different. With the help of spatial teleportation, Longao and Shapotian always maintained a certain distance. No one would believe that a purple-grade Great Emperor martial artist could follow a supreme Dao peak martial artist silently. From the beginning to the end, Shapotian did not find any trace of Longao. The two of them, one in front and one behind, slowly disappeared at the end of the street. The Five Elements city was as prosperous as the Dragon City, Emperor City, and other super cities. In the Five Elements city, there were not only Five Elements disciples, but also people from other places and forces. As for the Five Element sect's disciples, they would usually choose a type of martial skill to cultivate. For example, Wood Element martial skill, Fire Element martial skill, Water Element martial skill, Metal Element martial skill, and Earth Element martial skill. Some talented disciples could not only cultivate one elemental cultivation technique and martial skills, but also multiple elemental cultivation techniques and martial skills at the same time. There were even some who could cultivate 4 different elemental cultivation techniques and martial skills at the same time. Since ancient times, there was only one person who could cultivate 5 different elemental cultivation techniques and martial skills at the same time. 5 Elements Reincarnation, the 5 Elements Power. It was said that those who could cultivate the power of the 5 elements at the same time could become the strongest person in the world. The founder of the 5 Elements sect cultivated the power of the 5 elements and created the 5 Elements sect. Shapotian entered a very secluded courtyard, but Longao did not follow. "Brother Long, what do you want to know?" Nodding ding Long Masters Longao, Long of Long sect. Of Mo Long 5 Dragons sects. Long 2 of 5 martial sects Sect Long Sect was Long Sect Sect was Sect. Anyway, he had nothing to do. Maybe something would be beneficial to him. Opportunities were like this. If you were to wait for an opportunity to find you, there were only 3 words: slowly wait. Therefore, grab hold of any opportunity. Brother Long, big sister has a way. Xiling. Before Longao could say anything, Xiling said, "Why should I help him?" Before Longao could react, Xiling said, "Longao, release your soul." A woman's heart was like a needle at the bottom of the ocean. Xiling had caused Longao to be at a loss of what to do. She had just said that she would not help him, and in the blink of an eye, she had asked him to release his soul. He did not need to guess what Xiling wanted to do. Longao didn't say anything and released his spiritual energy. Before Longao could figure out what Xiling wanted to do, his soul was enveloped by a strange sword aura and shot into the courtyard. In the courtyard. "Young master, everything is ready. When the time is right, we can start." Shapotian nodded with satisfaction and said, "How is the 5 Elements sect?" "I don't know about the 5 Elements sect. Young master, I have investigated the matter of Tiandao Mountain. The person who attacked you was your second uncle." "Second uncle?" Hearing his second uncle, Shapotian's face instantly became gloomy because he had already guessed that the sneak attack of Tiandao Mountain was arranged by his second uncle. After all, other than his second uncle, who could have such a powerful ability to mobilize people? In the air, Longao's soul was enveloped by the sword aura. Even Shapotian could not find it, which made Longao very surprised. It seemed that Xiling was not only powerful, but also had some powerful magic. Even a supreme Dao warrior could not find it. "Young master." Longao never thought that Shapotian was the young master of the WN Shou sect. No wonder he could have such a powerful strength at such a young age. It turned out that he had such an identity. In this world, having talent didn't necessarily mean one could become a master. Having talent, one needed a good environment, and focused on cultivation, only then could one achieve such success. Shapotian's talent alone, without the full support of the Wan Shou sect, could he have become a supreme divine Dao cultivator at his age? The answer was obvious. After listening to the conversation between the two of them, Longao had almost guessed that Shapotian came to the Five Elements sect this time for an important matter. As for the ambush of the Tiandao mountain, Longao had also heard a hint of meaning. The person who wanted to kill Shapotian was Shapotian's second uncle. If he hadn't appeared in time, Yu Yin and Ling would have been killed. Who is it? Seeing that Shapotian seemed to have found him, Longao was very surprised, but he did not move, because Shapotian looked around with a puzzled expression. Seeing this situation, Longao could almost be sure that Shapotian only sensed a trace of his aura, but did not feel his existence, otherwise, he would not have looked around. "Young master, what's wrong?" With a puzzled face, Shapotian looked around and said, "I just sensed that someone was around, could it be that I was wrong?" Waving his hand, Shapotian said helplessly, "Go, according to our previous plan, remember, don't let the Five Elements sect know." "Yes, young master." After the servant left, Shapotian stood up, sighed and said to himself, "Second uncle, you were the one who was heartless first. Don't blame me for being unjust. I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. You and the Five Elements sect, HMPH. So that was it." Listening to Shapotian's words, Longao finally knew why Shapotian came to the Five Elements sect this time. In the end, the grudge between Shapotian and his second uncle had nothing to do with him. It seemed that he had followed Shapotian for nothing. Just when Longao was about to leave, a burst of laughter came. Chapter 1106. Loud laughter rang out. A middle-aged man walked into the courtyard. Shapotian's expression changed slightly when he saw the middle-aged man. He smiled and said, "Master Sima, why are you here?" Sima too, the sect master of the Five Elements sect. Shapotian wasn't surprised at all. No matter what, this was the Five Elements city, the headquarters of the Five Elements sect. As the young master of the Thousand Beasts sect, it would be strange if he didn't get discovered by the Five Elements sect. "Potian, why didn't you come to the Five Elements sect? You're treating me like an outsider." Sima too said casually, not like a sect master at all. Shapotian couldn't sense Longao's aura, but that didn't mean Sima too couldn't. However, Sima too acted as if nothing had happened and didn't say a word. "Master Sima, I'm just here to take a look." He waved his hand. Before Shapotian could speak, Sima too continued, "Potian, I already know everything about you and your second uncle." This time, Shapotian was truly shocked to the extreme. Sima too stopped laughing and sat down when he saw Shapotian didn't speak. "Potian, I also know that your second uncle is colluding with the sect leader of the Metal Element sect. However, this is still the Five Element sect. If you attack here, you're looking down on the Five Element sect. Uncle Sima, since things have come to this point, I won't hide it anymore. The grudge between me and my second uncle must be settled. In the Thousand Beasts sect, second uncle didn't dare to do anything, so he could only collude with the Metal Element sect master to deal with me." Sima too didn't say anything. "Uncle Sima, if it were you, what would you do?" Sima too knew things were bad when he heard Shapotian call him uncle. Shapotian's intention was very clear. He wanted to use his father's relationship to settle this matter. Sima too could ignore Shapotian, but how could he not respect the Thousand Beasts sect master? "Potian, I'll settle this. Don't continue." "Uncle Sima." Waving his hand, Sima too's face darkened. He said in a deep voice, "From now on, the leader of the Metal Element sect will not collude with your second uncle. As for the grudge between you and your second uncle, forgive me for being powerless." Shapotian knew very well that if he continued like this, not only would Sima too not give him any face, but he would also not give his father any face. He stood up. Shapotian didn't say anything more. He turned around and left. In the blink of an eye, he had already disappeared without a trace. "Who exactly are you?" Now that things had come to this, Longao did not continue to hide. His soul returned to his body and entered the courtyard. Sir! Black Wolf. Black Wolf. Sima II, the sect master of the Five Elements sect, was unfamiliar with the name Black Wolf. No matter how he thought about it, he could not recall who the Black Wolf was. With Sima II's strength, he could already sense Longao's strength. Purple-grade Great Emperor Realm? Even Shapotian could not sense such strength. This in itself showed that the young man in front of him was not simple. Sima II smiled and said, "Please sit." "Thank you, sect leader Sima." Longao was not polite at all and directly sat down opposite Sima II. If other people knew about this, they would probably scold him. Longao was simply acting recklessly. "Black Wolf, you know Shapotian?" Longao nodded, then shook his head. He didn't tell the truth and said, "To be honest, Shapotian and I have met once. We can be considered friends, but also enemies. Our relationship is unclear. This time, when I entered the Five Elements City, I met Shapotian. So, I came to see what Shapotian wants. I don't know what happened just now, and I don't want to know." Of course, Longao knew clearly that the Five Elements sect had 5 branches. Once the matter of Shapotian's second uncle colluding with the Gold Element sect master was spread out, where would the Five Elements sect's face go? Longao did not want to cause any trouble for himself. He already had enough enemies. Unless it was a last resort, he did not want to provoke the Five Elements sect. No matter what, the Five Elements sect was one of the 10 forces. Whether it was in terms of strength or background, they were all there. Not to mention, Longao knew very well that the Five Elements sect was different from other superpowers. Whether it was the Long family, the Sword sect, or the Martial Artists Alliance, they all had help. Otherwise, he would be in big trouble. Smart. "Black Wolf, I don't want to know about your relationship with Shapotian. I just want to ask, why did you come to my Five Elements city?" Longao was very afraid of the sect master of the Five Elements sect in front of him. If there were no accidents, Sima II's strength should have already broken through the Nirvana realm. He was a super-existence on the same level as Long Di Tien, Tong Tiendi, and Murong Guenar. Once he angered Sima II, it would be a big problem if he wanted to leave the Five Elements city smoothly. To be honest, I inadvertently cultivated a metal element cultivation method, but I still can't grasp the main point. Rumor has it that the Five Elements sect is the ancestor of the Five Elements force. If I can find a Five Elements expert to verify the Five Elements Tao and cultivate the Five Elements cultivation method and martial skills, I believe it will be of great help to my cultivation. Regarding this point, Longao did not hide it at all. Sima too was a little surprised. He nodded and said with a smile, "Very good, Black Wolf. If you want to verify your Five Elements Tao, you can't just challenge a Five Elements expert or cultivate the Five Elements cultivation method and martial skills. Sect Master, please enlighten me." In front of the Five Elements sect, there are 5 Five Elements stone steles. You can enter and verify your Five Elements sensing ability. If you can trigger even one of the Five Elements stone steles, you can become a core disciple of the Five Elements sect. At that time, when you enter the Five Elements sect, it will be of great help to your Five Elements Tao. Longao was not stupid. He knew what Sima II meant. They wouldn't help him for nothing, and they wouldn't let him enter the Five Elements sect for nothing. Although he didn't know what the Five Elements stone tablet was, Longao was very clear that it wouldn't be an easy thing to trigger the 5 sides of the Five Elements stone tablet. Longao did not want to enter the Five Elements sect, nor did he want to become a disciple of the Five Elements sect. He did not want to have anything to do with the Five Elements sect. However, the main purpose of entering the Five Elements city this time was to verify his knowledge of the Five Elements heaven-devouring incantation and comprehend it. Since that was the case, he had to think of all kinds of methods to verify his Five Elements heaven-devouring incantation. "Black Wolf, I have already said so much. It is up to you whether you want to go or not." Sima II stood up and disappeared from the courtyard. From the beginning to the end, Sima II did not put Longao in his eyes. However, Longao's gloomy aura had surprised the sect leader of the Five Elements sect. Otherwise, With Sima 2's status, he would not even look at Longao. Looking at Sima 2, who had already disappeared, Longao fell into deep thought. He did not know whether he should go or not. From the beginning to the end, he had never thought of entering the Five Elements sect. Once he entered and became a disciple of the Five Elements sect, regardless of whether he was willing or not, trouble would come endlessly. This was a chance. The Five Elements heaven-devouring incantation was a super martial skill that he had sensed from the Five Elements primal chaos stone steelies. Longao would definitely not be willing to waste it. Otherwise, he would not have come to the Five Elements city to verify his Five Elements Tao and cultivate the Five Elements heaven-devouring incantation. Go! In the end, Longao decided to go to the Five Elements sect and try the Five Elements stone steelies that Sima 2 had mentioned. He wanted to see if he could activate the Five Elements stone steelies. If he entered the Five Elements sect, then he would find a chance to verify his Five Elements Tao. Outside the Five Elements city, Shapotian looked at the Five Elements city in front of him. He was unwilling to give up because his plan this time was flawless. As long as there were no accidents, killing his second uncle would not be a problem. However, the sect leader of the Five Elements sect had personally come. If he continued, he would not be giving Sima 2 face and provoking the Five Elements sect. If Sima 2 really turned hostile, then wouldn't it lead to a war between the Five Elements sect and the Wan Shou sect? Second uncle, don't think that you can sit back and relax just because Sima 2 is here. I will let you know the consequences of provoking me. Young master, what should we do now? Follow the original plan. Hearing the young master's words, the disciple of the Wan Shou sect was startled. He said with some fear, "Young master, Sima 2 has already come. If we continue to attack, I'm afraid we will make him unhappy. At that time, we will be in big trouble." Shapotian nodded. Regarding this matter, how could he not know? He said, "That old man wants to kill me. If I don't fight back, he will really think that I am afraid of him. This time, not to mention Sima 2, even if the Heavenly Emperor comes, I will kill him." Since the matter had already reached this point, the disciple of the Wan Shou sect did not dare to continue and could only agree. On the city wall of the Five Elements city stood two people. They were the sect leader of the Five Elements sect, Sima 2, and the vice leader of the Five Elements sect, Shu Hai. Seeing that Shapotian had not left, Sima 2 said in a gloomy voice, "If you do this, you will provoke a war between the Five Elements sect and the Wan Shou sect. At that time, how will we deal with it?" Although Shu Hai was the sect leader of the Metal Element sect, his status was not on the same level as Sima 2. He thought for a moment and said, "Sect leader, I just want them to fight each other. At that time, our Five Elements sect will be the fisherman who reaps the benefits." Foolish. Sima 2 cursed and continued, "The grudges between the two of them are their family matters. If we intervene, do you think the Wan Shou sect will agree?" Sect leader. Sima 2 waved his hand and said, "This matter ends here. Even if both of them die here, it has nothing to do with us. Do you understand?" Even if Shu Hai was unwilling in his heart, he did not dare to say anything. However, he was very unwilling. Things had already reached this point. If he were to give up, not to mention him, even if it was someone else, would they be willing to do so? Author's note: I have been too busy these past 2 days. I have to find some time to write a few chapters. Tomorrow, Xiao Ju will try to write a few more chapters. Chapter 1107. The Five Elements sect was one of the 10 pillars. The Five Elements peak was a huge peak that reached the sky. There were peaks within peaks. The 5 peaks surrounded the huge peak in the middle. In the southeast of the Five Elements sect, there were 5 giant stone tablets. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. 5 stone tablets. Every year, the Five Elements sect would recruit disciples. No matter who it was, they would have to walk through the Five Elements stone tablet. As long as they could draw out a trace of the Five Elements stone tablet's aura, they would be able to enter the Five Elements sect and become a disciple. The Five Elements stone tablet was open. No matter who it was, they could enter the 5 elements stone tablet and sense it. Under normal circumstances, Longao would not be stopped when he arrived at the 5 elements peak. Outside the 5 elements stone tablet, 2 5 elements disciples, Stone and Defy, were guarding in front of the 5 elements stone tablet. Wait, who are you? Black Wolf, I want to enter the 5 elements stone tablet and sense it. Black Wolf. Disdain and contempt appeared on their faces. They sneered and said, Kid, the 5 elements stone tablet is not open to the public for the time being. You should leave. Not open to the public? Looking at the few people who had just entered, Longao already knew what was going on. The two of them obviously looked down on him and did not want him to enter the 5 elements stone tablet. They looked down on people. The sect leader of the 5 elements sect, Sima II, asked me to come and sense the 5 elements stone tablet. Hearing the other party's words, the 2 5 elements sect disciples laughed crazily. From time to time, they would mock and look down on others. They would even stop some people from entering the 5 elements stone tablet. Many people would find all sorts of reasons to enter the 5 elements stone tablet to sense it and to enter the 5 elements sect to become a disciple. They were used to it. However, this was the first time they heard of the sect leader. Kid, is there something wrong with your head? The sect leader asked you to come? Who the F***ck do you think you are? What a joke. Get lost. If you have the ability, you can ask the sect leader to come. I want to see if you know the sect leader. Looking at the two of them in disdain, Longao felt pity for them. If the sect leader of the 5 elements sect, Sima II, really came, would they be like this? They would probably be scared shitless. He couldn't be bothered with the two of them. Longao came to the 5 elements sect this time mainly to try to sense the 5 elements stone tablet. If he could enter the 5 elements sect, it might not be a bad thing. Only the 5 elements sect could help him with the 5 elements heaven-devouring art. That was indeed the case. Longao decided that no matter what happened, he had to enter the 5 elements stone steely. He forced his way in. Defy and Stone were shocked when they saw that the other party wanted to barge in. After all, this was the 5 elements sect. Who would dare to barge in here? Such a thing had never happened before. Brat, you're courting death. Boom. Before the two of them could react, Longao's body had already disappeared. Their bodies paused for a second before falling heavily to the ground. Their faces were filled with shock. Putting aside the other party's strength, just the fact that the other party dared to make a move was already a provocation to the 5 elements sect. If news of this were to spread out, where would their reputation go? Where would the 5 elements sect's face go? Brother Defy, what should we do now? Report to the sect immediately. I want to see how this person will die. The two of them were almost certain that once this matter was reported to the sect, the other party would definitely die. However, there were too many people in the 5 elements stone tablet. After all, there were too many people who wanted to enter the 5 elements sect. Moreover, the 5 elements sect would not casually interfere with the sensing of the 5 elements stone tablet. Therefore, even if the sect wanted to interfere, they would have to wait for the other party to come out. Inside the 5 elements stone tablet, the 5 elements stone steelies were like the 5 fingers of a palm. Each steely was about 100 meters long, and the distance between each steely was very far. In this way, the 5 elements stone steelies could accommodate many people. The 5 elements sect had a clear rule. No matter who it was, even if it was a disciple of the 5 elements sect, they could not enter the 5 elements stone tablet for more than a day. Moreover, if they did not succeed this time, they would have to wait for at least 3 months before they could try again. There were too many people who wanted to enter the 5 element stone steely. If someone occupied the 5 element stone steely for 1 year, 3 years, or even 10 years, then the 5 element sect wouldn't have any new blood to enter, and wouldn't it slowly decline? Metal element stone tablet, wood element stone tablet, water element stone tablet, fire element stone tablet, earth element stone tablet. There were many people standing in front of the metal element stone tablet, wood element stone tablet, water element stone tablet, earth element stone tablet. Everyone stood in front of the 5 element stone tablet and quietly closed their eyes, quietly sensing the power of the 5 elements. No matter who it was, as long as they could trigger the energy fluctuation of any of the 5 elements stone tablet, they could join the 5 elements sect. If someone could trigger 2 or more stone tablets, not only could they become a disciple of the 5 elements sect, they could also become a disciple that the 5 elements sect would focus on nurturing. That was exactly the case. Anyone who entered the 5 elements stone tablet wanted to sense the fluctuation of the 5 elements stone tablet, hoping to join the 5 elements sect. According to the rules of the 5 elements sect, those who entered the 5 elements stone tablet, no matter who it was, no matter what kind of grudge they had, even if it was someone who killed their father, they were not allowed to attack. However, anyone who was discovered, no matter who it was, would be killed immediately. Even if it was the sect master of the 5 elements sect, it was the same. 5 elements stone tablet. Those who could sense one of the stone tablets could enter the 5 elements sect and become a disciple of the 5 elements sect. 5 elements stone tablet. Those who could sense 2 of the stone tablets would be heavily nurtured by the 5 elements sect and become a core disciple. 5 elements stone tablet. Those who could sense 3 of the stone tablets would almost become the flesh of the 5 elements sect. There was no need to describe how valuable it was. 5 elements stone tablet. Those who could sense 4 of the stone tablets were 1 in a million. There was almost no one in the 5 elements sect. In the past 100 years, there were only a few people who could sense 4 of the stone tablets at the same time. There was no need to mention the status of such people in the 5 elements sect. 5 elements stone tablet. Other than the old ancestor who founded the 5 elements sect, no one else could sense 5 of the stone tablets. According to legend, if someone could trigger 5 of the stone tablets at the same time, the 5 stone tablets would release light at the same time. The light of the 5 attributes would be linked together to form the 5 elements light. In the past 10,000 years, no one was able to do it. Since he had already entered the 5 elements stone tablet, Longao did not hesitate. He immediately came to the front of the metal tablet and closed his eyes. He began to comprehend quietly, hoping to trigger the metal tablet. The 5 elements stone tablet only lasted for a day. In the dense crowd, no one spoke, and no one moved. They just found a spot and began to comprehend. Outside the 5 elements stone tablet. Big brother, why didn't we report this to the sect? Gui Mai, the core disciple of the 5 elements sect, was the big brother of the 2. His cultivation had already broken through the black-grade great sovereign realm and his status in the 5 elements sect was not bad. The 2 of them could not understand why this matter was not reported to the sect. Chapter 1108. He waved his hand. Gui Mai laughed coldly. So what if I report to the sect? When he comes out, I will make him wish he was dead. Hearing their brother's words, Big C and Stone were overjoyed. Gui Mai and the other 2 did not leave. They guarded the 5 elements stone steely, waiting for Black Wolf to appear. As for Sima too, he had long forgotten about Black Wolf. In the eyes of the 5 elements sect's sect master, Hei Lang was nothing in his eyes. The reason why Sima too wanted Black Wolf to head to the 5 elements sect to sense the 5 elements stone steely was because he was shocked by his dark aura. As for his strength and identity, Sima too believed that if it was anyone else, they would choose to ignore him too. Within the 5 elements stone steely, Longao's soul power slowly tried to enter the metal steely. Su. Before Longao could react, his soul had already entered the metal element steely. Regarding this point, Longao really did not think of it. 5 elements chaos stone steely. The moment Longao's soul entered the metal steely, the chaos stone steely in his dantian reacted. Instantly, Longao already knew what had happened. It turned out that the 5 elemental stone tablet in front of the 5 elemental door was created by someone who had comprehended the 5 elemental chaos stone tablet and created a fake 5 elemental chaos stone tablet. Furthermore, the fake 5 elemental chaos stone tablet was split into 5 parts and forcefully created the 5 elemental stone tablets of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Could it be the old ancestor of the 5 elements sect? Thinking about this, Longao was really shocked. He admired the old ancestor of the Five Elements sect. To be able to do this, how many people in this world could do it? Longao was sure that the old ancestor of the Five Elements sect had definitely seen the Five Elements Chaos Stone Stele. Otherwise, the old ancestor of the Five Elements sect would not be able to create a replica of the Five Elements Chaos Stone Stele. Too powerful. Master, there's no need for me to tell you. I believe you should know what's going on. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Sense it well. As long as you can comprehend the 5 sides of the Chaos Stone Stele, it will bring you indescribable benefits in terms of comprehending the true 5 elements Chaos Stone Stele. Nodding. As for what Long Fu said, how could Longao not know? Without any hesitation, he immediately started to comprehend the 5 elements stone stele. After entering the metal elemental stone stele, as long as one could comprehend it, there was no need to head to the other stone steles. No matter what, Longao's Dantian contained the true 5 elemental chaos stone tablet. This was something that Sima too wouldn't believe even if he was beaten to death. Otherwise, Sima too would have directly snatched it away. 5 Elements Peak. Inside the 5 Elements Hall. At this moment, in the 5 Elements Great Hall, other than the sect leader of the 5 Elements sect, Sima too, who was sitting at the head of the table, there were 5 other people sitting below. Among them was the sect leader of the Metal Element sect, Shu Hai. The 5 branches of the 5 Element sect were also the 5 vice sect masters. They were respectively the Metal Element sect master Shu Hai, the Wood Element sect master Ji Yu Feng, the Water Element sect master Luo Ningxue, the Fire Element sect master Bai Yusha, and the Earth Element sect master Wu Ling. Among the 5 deputy heads, only the Water Element sect's head was a woman. I believe all of you already know about this matter. Tell us, what should we do next? The 5 vice sect masters were well aware of the matter the sect leader mentioned. However, Shu Hai was very clear about this matter. Since the sect leader didn't say it out loud, there was no need for him to leak this matter. The Wood Element sect's sect master Ji Yu Feng coughed twice and said solemnly, "Sect master, the grudge between Shapotian and his second uncle has nothing to do with our 5 Elements sect. There is no need for us to provoke the 1,000 Beasts sect over this matter." Brother Ji Yu is right. The Earth Element sect's sect master Wu Ling added, "The 1,000 Beasts sect claims to be in charge of all spiritual beasts in the world. Falling out with the 1,000 Beasts sect is not beneficial to our 5 Elements sect. Sect master, although there is no need for our 5 Elements sect to interfere in this matter, if the 2 of them start a war in our territory and cause a huge commotion, at that time, even if our 5 Elements sect doesn't want to interfere, it will be impossible." Nodding his head. Sima too was worried about this point. Between the 2 of them, one was the 1,000 Beast sect's sect master's younger brother, and the other was the 1,000 Beast sect's sect master's son. If something happened to the 2 of them in the 5 Elements sect's territory, just as Wu Ling said, even if the 5 Elements sect wanted to stay out of this matter, they would not be able to do so. What do you all think we should do? Sect master, in the current situation, we only have one solution. Everyone turned to look at the Earth Element sect's sect leader, Wu Ling. They wanted to see what the only solution was. Sect master, if we want to stay out of this matter, the only way is to drive Shapotian and his second uncle out of the 5 Elements city. This way, although we will offend the 2 of them, it will save us a lot of trouble. Hearing Wu Ling's words, everyone fell into deep thought. For a moment, the entire 5 Elements Great Hall was silent. No one spoke. Time trickled by. After an unknown period of time, Sima too finally said, "We will do as you say. Later, the 5 of you will attack together. Whether the 2 of them are willing or not, drive them out." Boom. The entire 5 Elements sect trembled for a moment before returning to normal. The 6 people who were discussing important matters in the 5 Elements Great Hall trembled slightly. Their faces were filled with shock and disbelief. 5 Elements Light. Following Sima too's exclamation, the 6 of them disappeared at the same time and reappeared in front of the 5 Elements Great Hall. They looked at the 5 different colored lights that suddenly appeared in the distance. The gold elemental energy, white elemental energy, green elemental energy, water elemental energy, blue elemental energy, fire elemental energy, red elemental energy, earth elemental energy, and yellow elemental energy. The 5 elemental energy, 5 elements reincarnation, formed the 5 elements light. The 6 of them knew clearly what it meant when the 5 elements light suddenly appeared on the 5 elements stone stele. Sect Master, in the history of our 5 elements sect, other than our old ancestor who could comprehend the 5 elements stone stele at the same time, there has never been a second person. The 5 elements light that hasn't appeared for 10,000 years has finally appeared. This. They were so excited that they couldn't speak coherently. After all, the 5 elements light hadn't appeared for 10,000 years. This meant that the person who could comprehend the 5 elements stone stele at the same time had talent and potential comparable to their old ancestor. Once such a super genius was accepted into the 5 elements sect, he would definitely shine brightly in the future. Moreover, the 5 elements sect would also forcefully rise. This was an opportunity given by the heavens to the 5 elements sect. The 5 elements light that hadn't appeared for 10,000 years. Sima too was so excited that he couldn't speak. The 6 of them looked at each other and disappeared from the 5 elements great hall, heading towards the 5 elements stone stele. Not only the 6 of them, but even the other disciples and elders of the 5 elements sect were looking at the 5 elements stone stele. Everyone knew what the 5 elements light represented. It had not appeared for 10,000 years. Some people were envious, some were jealous, some were excited, and some were happy. There were all kinds of people and all kinds of emotions. Chapter 1109. 5 elements stone stele, 9 heavens void. 5 different colors of light intertwined, forming the 5 elements light that had not appeared for 10,000 years. The 5 elements light formed the 5 elements cycle. Outside the 5 elemental stone stele, 6 figures appeared. They looked at each other. Even now, the 6 of them were still unable to calm down. Sect Master, are we going in? He waved his hand. Sima too finally calmed down after being excited for a long time. No one is allowed to enter the 5 elements stone stele. Remember, from now on, seal off the news. Other than the person who drew out the 5 elements light, take everyone else in. Sect Master. Before the other 5 could speak, Sima too continued, once the others know about this, they will definitely think of various ways to kill this person. Therefore, this matter cannot be leaked. Do you understand? The 5 nodded. The 5 of them were not fools. They knew what was going on. The person who drew out the 5 elements light could be said to be the most important person in the 5 elements sect in the past 10,000 years. Once such a person grew up, he could lead the 5 elements sect to rise. At that time, it would not be difficult for the 5 elements sect to surpass the other 9 superforces. The 5 elements sect immediately sealed off the news. In other words, the 5 elements sect had completely sealed off the news that the 5 elements light had not appeared for 10,000 years. Sima too and the other 5 waited quietly in front of the 5 elements stone stele. They were very excited because the 6 of them wanted to see who the person who could draw out the 5 elements light was. The 5 elements light cycled for 6 hours before gradually disappearing into the 9 heavens void. It has finally disappeared. Notify everyone in the 5 elements stone stele to come out. Understood, Sect Master. Longao's soul exited the 5 elements stone stele. From the beginning to the end, no one knew what had happened. This was because what Longao had done was done in the 5 elements stone stele. Everyone, leave the 5 elements stone stele. No matter who you are, you can become a disciple of the 5 elements sect. Ah! Hearing the sudden voice, everyone's face lit up. Without any hesitation, they immediately filed out. Longao, who was at the back, naturally knew what had happened. The fact that he had activated the 5 elemental stone stele and formed the 5 elemental light should have already shocked the entire 5 elemental sect. If it were him, he would definitely have found out about it as well. Longao followed behind everyone and slowly left the 5 elements stone stele. Outside the 5 elements stele, there were more than 1,000 people walking out of the 5 elements stone stele. At a glance, the crowd was densely packed. If they did not take the initiative to admit it, it would be impossible to find the culprit among thousands of people. Looking at the thousands of people, Sima too did not feel troubled at all. In his opinion, those who could trigger the five elements light would definitely want to enter the five elements sect. Otherwise, they would just be trash if they left. The light of the five elements was very important to the five elements sect, but it was nothing to other places. Who drew out the light of the five elements just now? Sima too did not hide anything because what happened just now was not only seen by the six of them, but also by the other members of the five elements sect, including the cleaner. Even if he wanted to hide it, he would not be able to. However, Sima too had already thought of a countermeasure. As long as he kept the news a secret, it would not be difficult for others to find out. It was because of this that he decided that anyone who entered the five elements stone stele could become a disciple of the five elements sect regardless of whether they sensed it or not. Light of the five elements. When the people who came out heard sect leader Sima's words, their faces changed. Although they were not disciples of the five elements sect, they knew what the light of the five elements meant. Everyone looked at each other because they already knew why they were able to enter the five elements sect for no reason. In the end, they were all basking in the limelight. Otherwise, it would not be easy to enter the five elements sect and become a disciple of the five elements sect. No one admitted it. Looking at the thousands of people in front of them, no one stood out. Sima too and the others were depressed. If no one admitted it, it would be difficult to find out the truth. Sect leader, what should we do? The five vice sect leaders looked serious. Thousands of people stood in front of them and each of them had a blank expression on their faces. They did not seem to know who it was. If I'm not wrong, even the person himself would not know if he triggered the five elements stone stele. The five vice sect leaders nodded. It seemed like this was the only explanation. Everyone, enter the sect. We will observe slowly and see who exactly triggered all five sides of the five elements stone stele. Next, the thousands of people were arranged to enter the five elements sect. No matter who it was, no one was allowed to leave the five elements sect without knowing the truth. From the beginning to the end, Sima too did not recognize Longao. Sima too did not put Longao in his eyes at all. He had already forgotten everything that happened before. Longao followed everyone into the five elements sect and was arranged to be alone. The thousands of people were very excited because it was not important who triggered the five elements stone stele. What was important was that they could enter the five elements sect and become a disciple of the five elements sect. In the eyes of the five elements sect's disciples, they looked down on the thousands of people. The reason was simple. The thousands of people did not trigger the five elements stone stele to enter the five elements sect. They entered the five elements sect with the help of a mysterious person. Therefore, these people were destined not to become a core disciple of the five elements sect. In the main hall of the five elements sect, Sima too and the other five vice sect leaders sat in their seats. Their faces were serious and filled with excitement. Have you found out who it is? In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Even so, the five elements sect still could not find out who triggered the five elements stone stele among the thousands of people. Therefore, they could not find a solution to the problem. If this continued, what was the point of whether this person existed or not? Sect leader, we still can't find out who it is. Just like what you said, it seems like even the person himself does not know about it. I have checked the thousands of people and even checked 30 times, but there is still no clue. Hearing the wood element sect leader's words, everyone's face became more serious. If that was the case, this matter would be very troublesome. From now on, focus on cultivating the thousands of people. I believe that the person who triggered the five elements stone stele is very talented. I believe that he will soon stand out from the thousands of people. Pay attention. The 5 of them stood up at the same time and respectfully bowed. Sect leader, we will do it right away. The 5 of them were very clear about the seriousness of this matter. They immediately left the main hall and began to prepare. They hoped to find this person in the shortest time possible. P.S. The 3rd chapter has been delivered. It will explode tonight. At least 5 chapters. At least 8 chapters will be updated today. Chapter 11:10. 5 Elements Sect. The huge courtyard was separated into individual rooms. Over 1,000 people lived here. Sima too went downstairs personally. This time, over 1,000 people entered the 5 Elements sect and he focused on nurturing them. It would be a lie if the disciples of the 5 Elements sect said that they weren't envious and jealous. Longao didn't care about anything else. After entering the 5 Elements sect, he immediately started cultivating the 5 Elements heaven-devouring art. With the help of the 5 Elements Chaos Stone Tablet, he successfully activated the 5 sides of the 5 Elements Stone Tablet. This time, it was a great help to Longao. 5 cultivation techniques combined. It could be said that Longao was able to convert the power of the 5 elements. He could also convert the 5 types of cultivation techniques. It was considered a significant improvement. Big brother, Black Wolf is over there. The crowd was densely packed. The disciples of the 5 Elements sect finally exploded. Over 1,000 people came to the courtyard. Looking at the frightened cowards, all the disciples of the 5 Elements sect laughed crazily. Gui Mai brought Dahai and Stone along and mixed in with the crowd. After Longao walked past, Stone and Dahai immediately found Longao's traces. The two of them pointed at Longao and laughed as they spoke to Gui Mai. Gui Mai nodded. Gui Mai smiled and said, "Wait, let's take his life in the chaos." Although Sima too wanted to focus on nurturing over 1,000 people and find the person he was looking for, he didn't have time to do so. Otherwise, these disciples of the 5 Elements sect wouldn't dare to come here casually. Zhang Fei was the leader of the 1,000 disciples of the 5 Elements sect. Not only was he a core disciple of the 5 Elements sect, but he was also a titled Great Emperor. Senior brother Zhang, they are the trash that entered the sect this time. There are over 1,000 of them. Zhang Fei nodded coldly and looked high and mighty. Logically speaking, with his cultivation realm and being a core disciple of the 5 Elements sect, Zhang Fei shouldn't be like this. It turned out that Zhang Fei was a ruthless and jealous person. He couldn't bear to see others stronger than him. Among these people, no one dared to say that there wouldn't be anyone stronger than him in the future. Moreover, the sect master had already said that he wanted to nurture over 1,000 people. If someone among these people rose up, wouldn't they be stepping on him? Us. Looking at the 5 Elements sect's disciples in front of them, the people who entered the 5 Elements sect this time were all dumbstruck. They stood there trembling with fear and even stuttering when they spoke. They had just entered the 5 Elements sect. In their eyes, the 5 Elements sect disciples before them were all godlike existences. No one dared to speak. Even Longao didn't speak. If it didn't concern him, he would just let it go. The main reason he had entered the 5 Elements sect this time around was to verify his Tao of the 5 Elements and cultivate the 5 Elements heaven-devouring mantra. With that, there was no need for him to cause any trouble for himself. All of you, listen carefully. You are nothing more than trash. The reason why you were able to enter the 5 Elements sect is because the sect master is kind and is willing to take in trash like you. You're the trash. What right do you have to call us trash? Some people were afraid, while others weren't. Some people didn't want to cause trouble, while others weren't afraid of it. Even though they knew that they were no match for the other party, there were still people who stood out. Just as they stood out, they were beaten back by the 5 Elements sect's disciples. Zhang Fei sneered and said coldly, "Teach them a good lesson. Remember, make sure they remember this." Just as Zhang Fei finished speaking, everyone behind him rushed out. The gap between the two parties was too big. It was almost a one-sided situation. Black Wolf, we meet again. Weren't you very arrogant before? Now, I would like to see if you can be arrogant again. No one dared to deal with Longao because Gui Mai and the other two had already surrounded Longao. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that there was a grudge between the two parties. If anyone interfered, wouldn't they be looking for trouble with Gui Mai? With Gui Mai's strength and identity, no one was willing to provoke him. Moreover, there were over 1,000 of them. Even if it was a one-on-one battle, they wouldn't be able to handle it. Looking down on others with your dog eyes. You don't know what's good for you. Your head must have been kicked by a donkey. Longao didn't want to cause trouble, but he wasn't afraid of it. These two people came to cause trouble. If he let them go just like that, how could he survive in the Five Elements sect in the future? You're courting death. With Guimai here, the two of them didn't believe that Black Wolf would dare to be impudent. Unless he was courting death. Dahai and Rockhead knew that Black Wolf wouldn't dare to make a move. Therefore, the two of them moved at the same time. In a flash, they had already arrived in front of Longao. Both of their palms struck out fiercely. Two blood-curdling screams were heard. Before the two of them could react, their bodies were like kites with a broken string. They were thrown out fiercely. Poochie. Spitting out blood, the two of them struggled to get up from the ground. Their faces were filled with disbelief. The two of them never thought that the other party would dare to make a move in front of Guimai. However, the two of them didn't know that Longao was merciful because of the Five Elements sect. Otherwise, with Longao's current strength, the two of them would be dead by now. Ha ha ha, Black Wolf, I have to admit that you are really arrogant. You dare to hurt people in front of me, Guimai. Guimai's figure flashed. His speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he had already arrived in front of Longao. His palms filled the sky. At a glance, there were palms everywhere. From this, it could be seen that Guimai's strength wasn't simple. Wiping the blood from the corner of their mouths, Dahai and Rockhead sneered. With Guimai personally making a move, even if Black Wolf had 3 heads and 6 arms, he wouldn't be able to survive. Guimai's strength was there for all to see. What happened in the end? Guimai's ending was almost exactly the same as the two of them. He left quickly and returned even faster. This time, Longao didn't show any mercy. Catcher, catcher. The sound of bones breaking was heard. Guimai had already fainted. No one knew if he was dead or alive. Looking at Guimai, who was lying on the ground, no one knew if he was dead or alive. Dahai and Rockhead screamed crazily as if they had seen a ghost. Everyone around them stopped and looked at Guimai on the ground. Their faces were filled with disbelief. A person who had just stepped into the Five Elements sect actually defeated Guimai in one move. What did this mean? Zhonfei came in front of Longao and stared at the young man in front of him. He asked word by word, "Who are you?" "Senior brother Zhon." Slap. Before Rockhead could speak, Zhonfei gave him a slap and sent him flying. He said coldly, "You can't do anything right. What use do the sect have for trash like you?" Guimai and the other two were defeated. Where would the Five Elements sect's face go? Black Wolf, the three of them asked for it. They can't blame anyone else. One had to admit that Longao was indeed arrogant. The words he said, not to mention someone who had just entered the Five Elements sect, even the disciples of the Five Elements sect, including Zhonfei, wouldn't be so arrogant. It was because of this that everyone was shocked when they heard these words. Chapter 11:11. Zhonfei's face darkened. Everyone could see that Zhonfei was truly enraged. Even if Black Wolf could defeat Guimai, it didn't mean that he could defeat Zhonfei. However, Zhonfei and Guimai weren't on the same level. One was a black-grade Great Emperor, while the other was a titled Great Emperor. However, at this moment, "All of you, get out." With a roar, Sima Tu's group of 6 appeared. Sima Tu's face was filled with anger. He wouldn't care if it was something else. However, there was someone who could trigger the 5 elemental stele. If that person died, the consequences would be unimaginable. This was an opportunity for the 5 Elements sect. They couldn't miss this opportunity. "Sectmaster, we're not convinced." Zhonfei gave a signal to the people beside him. Even if they were unwilling, they could only obey Zhonfei's orders. "Sectmaster," none of them could trigger the 5 elemental stele, but, crack. Before the man could finish speaking, he fell to the ground and breathed his last. Looking at the corpse on the ground, everyone was dumbfounded. No one had expected the sect master to suddenly take action and kill him with a single move. What the hell happened? The sect master had never acted like this before. Everyone knew that the sect master was truly enraged at this moment. Otherwise, he wouldn't have acted like this. All of you, get out. If anyone dares to cause trouble in the future, no matter who it is, kill without mercy. Kill without mercy, kill without mercy. Sima Tu's voice reverberated throughout the heavens and earth. Everyone, including Zhong Fei, slowly left the courtyard. No one dared to say a word. In the blink of an eye, thousands of Five Elements sect disciples left the courtyard. The 5 vice sect masters didn't dare to say a word. They knew clearly why the sect master acted like this. In the end, it was because of the person who could trigger the 5 elemental stele. Sect master. He waved his hand. Looking at the thousands of people in front of him, Sima Tu suddenly said, "You're Black Wolf?" Yes. Sima Tu recognized Black Wolf, but he still didn't put him in his eyes. From the beginning, Sima Tu didn't think that Black Wolf was the person who triggered the 5 elemental stele. Not bad talent. Sima Tu had seen the battle between Longao and Gui Mai, but even so, Sima Tu had only said a few words. All of you, come with me. The thousands of people didn't know what the sect leader wanted to do, but they followed him with trepidation. In front of 5 Elements Gate. Inside the 5 Elements stele, Sima Tu's intention was very simple. He wanted to see for himself who among the thousands of people was able to sense the 5 elemental stone steles at the same time and achieve the 5 elemental light that had not appeared for 10,000 years. Sect Master, are we going in as well? All of you, come in. Everyone entered the 5 elemental stone tablet. Sima Tu went straight to the point and said, "You all immediately comprehend the 5 elemental stone tablet. As long as you can comprehend all the chaos stone tablets, I will take you as a disciple." Hearing those words, everyone was shocked because every single one of them knew what it meant to become the disciple of the 5 Elements School's head. However, everyone was very serious because it was almost impossible to comprehend all 5 sides of the 5 elemental stone tablet at the same time. None of them hesitated, but Longao was cautious. The reason was simple. He didn't want the 5 Elements School to know that he was able to comprehend the 5 elemental stone tablets at the same time. Just like that. In 3 days, no one was able to comprehend the 5 elemental stone tablets at the same time. Sima Tu and the other 5 didn't know what to do. After thinking about it, they couldn't think of a better way to find out who this person was. The 6 of them were completely depressed. Outside the 5 elemental stone tablet. Sect Master, we can't go on like this. If we can't find this person, we might miss the opportunity. Nodding his head, Sima Tu thought for a while and said, "I have already thought about it. Tomorrow, I will arrange for everyone to enter the 5 elemental space." 5 elemental space. Hearing those words, everyone stood up with shock written all over their faces. The 5 of them knew clearly what the 5 elemental space meant. Sect Master, the old ancestor left a message that only those who can trigger the 5 elemental stone tablets at the same time can enter the 5 elemental space. Until now, we still haven't figured out who is able to trigger the 5 elemental stone tablets at the same time. If more than 1,000 people enter the 5 elemental space, the old ancestor. Although the Earth Element sect's sect master didn't finish his words, the meaning in his words was very clear. How could Sima Tu not know about this? He sighed helplessly and said, "How could I not know about this? After more than 10,000 years, we finally have an opportunity. As long as this person can grow, our 5 Elements School will rise. Tell me, what method can we use to find this person?" Sima Tu was really anxious. Otherwise, he wouldn't have thought of such a method. Back then, when the old ancestor of the 5 Elements School died, he broke into the 5 elemental space. Furthermore, he had set a rule that no one, not even the sect master of the 5 Elements School, could enter the 5 elemental space unless they could trigger the 5 elemental stone tablets. For tens of thousands of years, no one in the 5 Elements sect had been able to trigger the 5 elements stone stele and draw out the light that had not appeared for tens of thousands of years. Now that it finally appeared, Sima too would definitely not choose to give up. In order to prevent the Five Elements School from losing this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, the Five Elements School had to go against the will of the old ancestor of the Five Elements School. The five of them were speechless because what the sect master said was true. Under such circumstances, it was simply impossible to find this person. In the end, the five of them chose to accept because the sect master's intention was very clear. He wanted to use the Five Elements School to find this person and deal with him on the spot. If this person could truly grow, it would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the Five Elements School. Sect Master, we'll go and arrange it now. Remember, don't let anyone know about this. Announce to the public that they are not qualified to enter the Five Elements School and have all left. How could the five of them not know about the sect master's intention? They all nodded in agreement. This matter could not be leaked. Otherwise, it would not be a good thing for the Five Elements School. Only one person could trigger the 5 elemental stone tablets every 10,000 years. If they lost this opportunity, who knew how long they would have to wait? There's no time to lose. All of you start immediately. I'll go and open the Five Elements School now. Tomorrow at this time, bring everyone here. Yes, Sect Master. The 5 Vice Sect Masters bowed respectfully and slowly left. Chapter 11-12. Brother Long, you have successfully comprehended the power of the 5 elements. If you continue to cultivate, I believe you will be able to achieve the 5 elements reincarnation in no time. 5 elements reincarnation. Longao roughly understood what Bai Ling was talking about. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Once the power of the 5 elements merged, it would form the 5 elements reincarnation. Bai Ling, do you mean that I can leave the 5 elements sect now? To be honest, Longao really didn't want to stay any longer. The longer he stayed, the more trouble he would have to face. He had activated the 5 elements stone tablet and brought out the 5 elements light that hadn't appeared in 10,000 years. The 5 elements sect had already started to take this matter seriously. Longao had full confidence that as long as he was willing to leave, he could leave at any time. Brother Long, without waiting for Bai Ling to speak, Xiling said, Longao, if you want to comprehend the 5 elements reincarnation sooner, you have to stay in the 5 elements sect. What did that mean? Longao, have you heard of the 5 elements space of the 5 elements sect? He shook his head. Longao really didn't know about the 5 elements space that Xiling was talking about. He only knew that there was a 5 elements stone tablet in the 5 elements sect. Back then, the ancestor of the 5 elements sect observed the 5 elements chaos stone tablet and created the 5 elements stone tablet. I have to say that this person's talent and potential is the strongest I have ever seen. How could Longao not know about this? The fact that the ancestor of the 5 elements sect could observe the 5 elements chaos stone tablet and create the 5 elements stone tablet was already a problem. So what? Longao already understood the 5 elements stone tablet very well. It seemed impossible to use the 5 elements stone tablet to condense the 5 elements reincarnation. However, Longao didn't say anything. He knew Xiling's personality very well. If he wasn't confident, he believed that Xiling would never ask. Longao, back then, the old ancestor of the 5 elements sect, used some mysterious method to create a 5 element space. If a person who cultivates the power of the 5 elements enters the 5 element space, he will be able to form a 5 elements reincarnation. At this point, Violet's spirit did not continue, but the meaning of her words was very clear. Longao was not a fool. Of course, he understood what Xiling meant. 5 elements space. In other words, if he could enter the 5 elements space, the speed and probability of condensing the 5 elements reincarnation would greatly increase. If that was the case, why did he leave? What he wished for came true. At this moment, the 5 vice sect leaders arrived. The general idea was that at this time tomorrow, the 5 of them would bring everyone to the 5 element space. The 5 of them did not say much. Others didn't know what was going on, but Longao knew that his luck was a little too good. Longao, who had originally wanted to leave, heard that the 5 Elements sect wanted him to enter the 5 Element space. He could use this opportunity to condense the 5 Elements samsara. The night passed in silence. The next day, everyone entered the 5 Element space. The 5 Element space was boundless. In the air, there were 5 different colored airflows. They were metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. However, the 5 elements airflows in the 5 element space were extremely powerful. The 5 element space was a forbidden area of the 5 element sect. No one, not even the sect leader of the 5 element sect, could enter casually. The 5 element sect's old ancestor had made a famous rule that those who could not sense the 5 element stone tablet and cultivated the power of the 5 elements could not enter the 5 element space. Otherwise, they would be killed by the 5 element space. Sima 2's meaning was simple. It was too difficult to find the person who could draw out the 5 elements light by normal means. Sima 2 would not do this if he had a better way. Left with no choice, Sima 2 decided to let everyone enter the 5 element space. Apart from those who cultivated the power of the 5 elements, the rest of the people could not withstand the 5 elements airflows. Whoever could come out alive would be the person who drew out the 5 elements light. Sacrificing thousands of people just to find one person. To the 5 elements sect, thousands of people were dispensable. Not to mention thousands, even if it was 10,000, 100,000, or 1,000,000 people, as long as they could find the person they wanted, they could sacrifice them. Without a doubt. Other than Longao, the thousands of people who entered the 5 element space were instantly killed by the 5 elements airflows. No one was spared. Looking at the cultivators who were killed one by one, Longao felt a lingering fear. Fortunately, he had already comprehended the power of the 5 elements. Otherwise, he would have suffered the same fate. Brother Long, quickly comprehend the power of the 5 elements. I hope you can use the 5 elements airflows to form the 5 elements reincarnation. Nodding his head, Longao was very clear about Bai Ling's intention. He did not dare to hesitate at all. He immediately released his 5 elements power and began to slowly merge the 5 elements airflow. Not only that, Longao released the 5 elements stone tablets aura from his dantian and circulated the 5 elements heaven devouring chant, hoping to comprehend the 5 elements reincarnation sooner. 1 month later, outside the 5 elements space. According to the 6 people's estimation, they should be able to find the original body in 3 days. But what was the result? For a whole month, there was no news. Even the 6 of them did not dare to enter the 5 element space casually, because among the 6 of them, even Sima 2 had only comprehended 4 5 elements airflows. Otherwise, how could such a good thing not happen to him? Sect leader. Before the wood element sect leader could finish his words, the entire 5 element space began to tremble. A loud rumbling sound was heard and the 6 people's faces changed. They did not dare to hesitate and retreated 10 meters away. Disappeared. Looking at the 5 element space in front of them that suddenly disappeared, the 6 people were completely dumbfounded. They did not know what had happened. Why did the 5 element space disappear for no reason? The 5 element space and 5 element stone tablet were the most important and precious items of the 5 element sect. They were also the only things left behind by the 5 element sect's old ancestor. For so many years, the 5 element sect had been very careful with their treasures, fearing that the 5 element space and 5 element stone tablet would be lost. Who would have thought that the 5 element space would disappear? Seal the sect immediately. No one is allowed to step into the 5 element sect. No one is allowed to step out of the 5 element sect. The 5 vice sect leaders naturally knew the seriousness of the matter. The disappearance of the 5 element space was like an earthquake to the 5 element sect. The 5 of them did not dare to hesitate and immediately sealed the 5 element sect. As for Sima 2, he could only stare at everything in front of him. The 5 element space had disappeared just like that. Even now, Sima 2 was still unwilling to believe it. With the disappearance of the 5-elemental space, the person who triggered the 5-elemental stone stele had disappeared as well. The blow to the 5-elemental sect was obvious. Sima too could not accept it, but he was powerless. All he could do was watch. Chapter 11:13. With the disappearance of the 5-element space, Sima too and the others did not know what had happened. With the 5-element sect sealed, no one knew what had happened. Within the 5-element space, Longao did not know about the disappearance of the 5-element space. He thought that with the help of the 5 elements force in the 5-element space, he could condense the 5 elements reincarnation. However, after a whole month, there was still no result. You don't have the 5 elements body, so you can't condense the 5 elements reincarnation. A heavy sigh was heard. Hearing the sigh, Longao was shocked. Looking at the middle-aged man who was slowly condensing the 5 elements force in front of him, Longao seemed to have guessed something. It seems that you have guessed my identity. The middle-aged man smiled warmly, just like a good father. 5 elements patriarch? Ha ha ha, that's right. It would be a lie to say that he was not shocked. Longao never thought that he would meet the legendary 5 elements patriarch in the 5-element space. Violet Spirit had already said that the 5 elements patriarch's talent was unparalleled in the world. She believed that even the heavenly Tao could not compete with the 5 elements patriarch. Violet Spirit rarely praised others, so one could imagine how high the 5 elements patriarch's talent was. It was said that the 5 elements patriarch had already fallen. If that was the case, why would the 5 elements patriarch appear in front of him? Senior, my name is Longao. Long family? He nodded and then shook his head. Longao nodded and shook his head, which surprised the 5 elements patriarch. He asked, "What do you mean by nodding and shaking your head?" Senior, although I am a disciple of the Long family, I have no connection with them. I have re-established the Dragon Sect, and I am the master of the Dragon Sect. Longao was indeed the master of the Dragon Sect. As for Long Ying, she was only the master of the Dragon Sect. Hearing this, the 5 elements patriarch was even more surprised because he did not expect the young man in front of him to dare to do this. He knew very well what a Long family meant. Not only did the young man in front of him dare to break away from his Long family, but he also dared to rebuild the Dragon Sect. This in itself showed how arrogant this young man was. 5 elements patriarch suddenly burst into laughter. Very good, very good. What a pity, what a pity. Senior, what do you mean by what you just said? Longao had also thought that something must have gone wrong for him to be unable to condense the 5 elements samsara. According to Xiling and by Ling's estimation, if there were no accidents, he would definitely be able to condense the 5 elements reincarnation with the help of the 5 element space. But the result? Longao, only those with the 5 elements body can condense the 5 elements reincarnation. Even if you forcefully condense the 5 elements reincarnation, it will be a fake 5 elements reincarnation. Not only will it be useless, it will also hinder your cultivation. So that was the case. Longao finally understood why he had been unable to condense the 5 elements reincarnation all this time. It turned out that he did not possess the so-called 5 elements body at all. Longao, I don't need to say more. I believe you already know. Nodding his head. Shrugging his shoulders helplessly, Longao said, if that's the case, I won't force it. After tens of thousands of years of waiting, I thought that the 5 elements reincarnation would reappear this time. But I didn't expect that. Let's not talk about it. Although you don't possess the 5 elements body and can't condense the 5 elements reincarnation, you have been cultivating the power of the 5 elements. I believe it will be of great help to your cultivation. Longao did not speak. This time, he did not succeed in condensing the 5 elements reincarnation and knew that it would be impossible in this lifetime. He was more or less unwilling. Senior, if that's the case, I will leave first. Since he was unable to condense the 5 elements reincarnation, Longao did not want to stay any longer. As for the 5 elements heaven-swallowing art, he would continue to cultivate it. Just as the 5 elements patriarch said, even if he could not condense the 5 elements reincarnation, at least cultivating the 5 elements heaven-swallowing art would be of great help to his cultivation. Not to mention, the 5 elements heaven-swallowing art came from the 5 elements primal chaos stone tablet. It was easy to imagine the power of the 5 elements heaven-swallowing art. Longao could almost say that even the 5 elements patriarch might not be able to sense the 5 elements heaven-swallowing art from the 5 elements primal chaos stone tablet. Longao, you and I are fated. I hope you can promise me one thing. Senior, please speak. Since you can activate the 5 elements primal chaos stone tablet and form the power of the 5 elements, I believe it will not be difficult for you to reach the peak of martial arts in the future. I hope that you can help the 5 elements sect in the future. I don't expect the 5 elements sect to remain strong, but I hope that it will not be destroyed. Longao could almost guess the 5 elements patriarch's intention. Senior, I promise you. He did not have any grudges with the 5 elements sect. If the situation allowed it in the future, if the 5 elements sect was in trouble, he would help. Thank you, Longao. Since you can cultivate the power of the 5 elements at the same time, I believe the 5 elements slave will be of greater use if he follows you. Just as the 5 elements patriarch finished speaking, an old man appeared. There was no aura fluctuation. Was the 5 elements slave a puppet? As expected. Longao, this is the 5 elements slave that I created with the help of the 5 elements reincarnation. He also has the power of the 5 elements. Ordinary people can't control him at all. Only those who cultivate the power of the 5 elements at the same time can. He will follow you in the future. Nodding his head, Longao was very clear about the 5 elements patriarch's intention. He just wanted him to owe him a favor. Even if the 5 elements sect was in trouble in the future, he would be embarrassed to refuse. Since things had come to this point, could he refuse? It was better to have one more friend than one more enemy. Not to mention, the other party was the 5 elements patriarch, one of the most powerful warriors in the world. Even if he died, Longao was sure that if the 5 elements patriarch attacked him, he might not be able to leave the 5 elements space. Without the slightest confidence, Longao smiled and said, "Thank you, Senior." Longao tried to sense the 5 elements slave in front of him and asked curiously, "Senior, I can't sense his strength at all. I want to ask, what is the strength of the 5 elements slave?" Longao was very surprised. Although he had guessed that the 5 elements slave refined by the 5 elements patriarch was definitely not simple, he never thought that even he couldn't sense the strength of the 5 elements slave. Could it be that the strength of the 5 elements slave was similar to that of the 5 elements patriarch? Impossible. Longao, the 5 elements slave was refined by me with the help of the 5 elements reincarnation and the power of space. As long as he doesn't attack, the 5 of you will be able to sense his true strength. However, I can guarantee that even if it's a Nirvana rebirth martial artist, he will not be a match for the 5 elements slave. Hearing this, Longao was pleasantly surprised. Because he really didn't expect that the 5 elements patriarch gave him the 5 elements patriarch would be so overbearing and not afraid of Nirvana realm warriors. Chapter 11:14. The 5 elements slave. Didn't that mean that with the 5 elements slave, he could ignore Nirvana realm cultivators? It would be a lie to say that he wasn't excited. Longao, although my 5 elements slave can block any attack, it won't counterattack, nor will it take the initiative to attack. What did that mean? Longao was very depressed. He had thought that with the 5 elements slave, he would be able to take revenge. But what was the result? Overall, this was already very good. At the very least, even if Shangguan Ye wanted to kill him, he would have a guarantee. He wouldn't have to worry about running into Nirvana realm cultivators. Longao, go! Before Longao could react, his body had already disappeared without a trace. Within the 5 elements space, Master God Diviner, I've already followed your orders and given the 5 elements slave to Longao. The god diviner suddenly appeared beside the 5 elements old ancestor. If Longao was still here, he would have seen this situation. He was very satisfied. I hope Longao won't disappoint me. The 5 elements patriarch was very curious. Master God Diviner, since you want to help Longao, why don't you just do it yourself? Why do you want to borrow my hand? The 5 elements patriarch was very curious about this. With the God Diviner's power, he could casually take out something and no one on the martial heaven continent would be able to harm Longao. Why did he have to do something so superfluous? There are some things you don't understand. The God Diviner smiled mysteriously. If I succeed, perhaps I'll be able to advance even further. The 5 elements patriarch didn't continue asking. The God Diviner had clearly said that this was all for himself. What nonsense was this about the common people? Longao was sent away from the 5 elements sect. From start to finish, Sima Tu and the others didn't know that the person they were looking for was no longer in the 5 elements space or the 5 elements sect. Looking at the 5 elements sect in front of him, Longao had a helpless expression. Initially, entering the 5 elements sect would have been beneficial to his cultivation. However, in the end, he only obtained the 5 elements slaves and failed to cultivate the 5 elements reincarnation. You win some, you lose some. Longao didn't continue to dwell on this issue. Since things had already come to this point, there wasn't much meaning in continuing to stay. Just like this, Longao turned around and left. In a short while, he had already disappeared without a trace. Within the 5 elements sect, the 5 elemental space had already disappeared for a month, but the 6 of them didn't dare to take a step out. If the 5 elemental space really disappeared, they really didn't know what to do. Sovereign. Before the sect leader of the water element sect could say anything, the 5 element space that had disappeared earlier suddenly reappeared. Looking at the entrance of the 5 element space in front of them, the 6 of them were completely dumbfounded. They had no idea what was going on. The 6 of them looked at each other, not knowing what to do. From the beginning to the end, the 6 of them had never thought that someone would actually be able to lure out the old ancestor and recover the 5 element space. 3 days later. Apart from the 6 of them, no one else knew about the 5 element space. The 5 elements sect had completely sealed off the news. No matter who it was, no one received any news. As for the 1,000 over people, many people were speculating because sect leader Sima had personally said that he would focus on cultivating the 1,000 over people. Therefore, even if the 1,000 over people disappeared, no one would suspect anything. Not to mention, for the 5 elements sect, these thousands of people were practically dispensable existences. 5 elements city. Shapotian, I have already said that the grudge between you and your second uncle has nothing to do with my 5 elements sect. Therefore, leave the 5 elements city. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Suddenly, Sima Tu's tone became tough, making Shapotian a little helpless. Master Sima. Waving his hand, without giving Shapotian any chance to speak, Sima Tu said, your second uncle has already left the 5 elements city. Remember, no matter who you are, if you enter the 5 elements city and cause trouble in the future, don't blame the 5 elements city for not giving face to your WAN show sect. As soon as Sima Tu finished speaking, his figure disappeared from the 5 elements city. The 5 deputy heads were respectively the metal element faction leader, wood element faction leader, water element faction leader, fire element faction leader, and earth element faction leader. With their status and strength, not to mention Shapotian, even if Shapotian's father and second uncle came, they wouldn't dare to continue staying in the 5 elements city. The 5 of them didn't say anything, but their meaning was clear. Shapotian's face became more and more gloomy. He naturally knew what Sima Tu's words meant. In the end, Shapotian chose to compromise. As the saying goes, a wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. If he continued to stay, the consequences would be unimaginable. What do you all think? I don't know. In any case, we just need to follow sect leaders' instructions. Looking at the gradually disappearing figures, the 5 of them chose to leave at the same time. After leaving the Five Elements sect, Longao didn't return to the Dragon Peak. Instead, he began to roam the martial sky continent. His first goal was the so-called Earth ranking. In the martial sky continent, there were two rankings, the Heaven ranking and the Earth ranking. The Heaven ranking was a ranking that everyone in the martial sky continent could chase after. It was also the most valuable ranking in the martial sky continent. As long as one could enter the top 100 of the Heaven ranking, one would be an all-powerful figure in the martial sky continent. The 10 Master of the 10 Directions were all super figures in the top 20 of the Heaven ranking. Under normal circumstances, it was almost impossible for young people to enter the Heaven ranking. It was rumored that among the figures on the Heaven list, the person with the lowest strength was still a supreme Dao martial artist. One could imagine how terrifying the existence of the Heaven list was. As for the Earth ranking, it was a ranking that anyone below the age of 40 could chase after. It was also a ranking that was prepared for young people. Many times, no one could enter the Earth ranking and the Heaven ranking at the same time. There were rumors that the first place of the Earth ranking had already entered the Heaven ranking. As for whether it was true or not, no one knew. Longao was preparing to chase after the Earth ranking. That way, he could better train himself and continuously improve his strength. According to the information that Longao had obtained, the first place of the Earth ranking was a Black Grade Great Emperor. After the 50th place, almost all of them were supreme gods. Because of this, Longao began to challenge. According to the rules of the Earth ranking, the fastest way to enter the Heaven ranking was to challenge the people on the Earth ranking. If the challenge was successful, one could enter the Heaven ranking directly. If the challenge wasn't successful, one would either lose the right to challenge or be killed directly. Longao calculated that with his current strength, he could probably challenge a White Grade Great Emperor. In a short span of 10 days, Longao consecutively challenged 3 people on the Earth ranking. He directly succeeded and successfully entered the Heaven ranking, ranking 81st. Chapter 11:15. 81st on the Earth ranking. In just a few dozen days, the Earth ranking had changed. Those who received the news were all shocked. There were always people paying attention to the Heaven ranking and Earth ranking. Under normal circumstances, it would be difficult for the two rankings to change. Especially the Heaven ranking, there would be no changes for a few years or even a dozen years. It was still the same saying, how could those who could enter the Heaven ranking not have some real skills? As for the Earth ranking, there would be some monstrous geniuses who would challenge those who were at the top of the Earth ranking to enter the Earth ranking. Black Wolf. No one knew who this Black Wolf was and how he could challenge 3 people consecutively and be ranked 81st on the Earth ranking. The 80th on the Earth ranking were Gold Grade Great Emperors. With the current situation of the Earth ranking, there were no Divine Grade Great Emperors in the top 50. One should know that there were strong and weak martial artists of the same level. Longao stopped challenging. In the wilderness, there was no one around. Gu. It was unknown what kind of spiritual beast made the sound, but it was especially eerie in the wilderness. After successfully challenging the people on the Earth ranking and being ranked 81st, Longao's cultivation had successfully broken through to the peak Purple Grade Great Emperor realm. He was only one step away from officially breaking through to the Black Grade Great Emperor realm. 10 levels of Great Emperor realm. From low to high, they were Red Grade Great Emperor realm, Orange Grade Great Emperor realm, Yellow Grade Great Emperor realm, Green Grade Great Emperor realm, Cyan Grade Great Emperor realm, Blue Grade Great Emperor realm, Purple Grade Great Emperor realm, Black Grade Great Emperor realm, White Grade Great Emperor realm, and Gold Grade Great Emperor realm. Above the 10 levels of Great Emperor realm was the titled Great Emperor realm. Above the titled Great Emperor realm was the so-called Demigod realm, which was the 9 heavens of the Demigod realm. Longao only had one thing to do now, which was to break through to the Black Grade Great Emperor realm from the peak Purple Grade Great Emperor realm as soon as possible. The increase in level also represented a huge increase in strength. Sitting on the ground. Sitting quietly in the wilderness, Longao absorbed the spiritual energy of heaven and earth around him and circulated the 9-cycle reincarnation technique in his body. The 9 revolutions reincarnation technique was the supreme cultivation technique of the dragon seal space. It was passed down from Long Fu to Longao. Longao attached great importance to the 9 revolutions reincarnation technique because every breakthrough was a qualitative change. He had just broken through to the 2nd cycle of reincarnation. Not only had his strength soared, but he had also gained the ability to teleport. That was indeed the case. Longao was looking forward to seeing how many divine abilities the 7 cycles of the 9 revolutions reincarnation technique could produce. The 9 revolutions reincarnation technique was incomparably powerful. However, cultivating it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Until now, Longao had only just broken through to the 2nd cycle of reincarnation. Master, you have now reached the breakthrough point. What you need to do is to devour a large amount of power. As long as you have enough power, you can naturally break through with the help of the desolate saint body. He nodded. As for Long Fu's point, how could Longao not know about it? The sacred desolation physique was not only the number 1 cultivation sacred physique, but it was also the number 1 waste physique. Without sufficient power to supplement it, there was only one outcome for someone with such a physique. That was a tragedy. If Longao hadn't obtained the dragon seal space back then, he would still be a waste in Scarlet Fire Town. How could he have challenged the Earth leaderboard and established the dragon sect? He let out a deep sigh. It was easier said than done to devour a large amount of power. Long Fu had devoured all the remnant souls of the divine dragon. Longao didn't say anything because he knew that the stronger the dragon seal space was, the more advantageous it would be for him. As if he knew what his master was thinking, Long Fu said, "Master, I know that your situation is urgent. Therefore, I have already thought about it. In your current situation, only by entering that place can you quickly increase your strength." Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was overjoyed. Longao knew Long Fu's character very well. If he wasn't completely confident, Long Fu would never say that. Just as Long Fu said, his situation was urgent. He had to quickly increase his strength. Only then would he be able to deal with everything. "Long Fu, where is this place?" Longao couldn't wait. "Master, to tell you the truth, the old master also entered this place. It was because of this that the old master's strength had greatly increased. However, it was filled with danger. I hope that master can consider it carefully." "Old master? Long Tian?" Longao naturally knew who the old master that Long Fu was talking about was. As for danger, he wasn't afraid of danger. Otherwise, he wouldn't have entered the Sky Martial continent alone and provoked the 10 Directions tripod. "Long Fu, speak." Long Fu smiled because he knew his master's character very well. Knowing that there was a tiger in the mountain, he still went to the mountain. This was his master. "Master, the place I want to bring you to is called the Massacre Abyss." "Massacre Abyss? What place?" "Master, according to the old master, the Massacre Abyss is filled with vicious people. Once you enter, you have to disregard life and death. Inside the Massacre Abyss, even if there is no enmity, there will still be people who will kill you." "Long Fu, does the Massacre Abyss have the energy I need?" Longao wasn't a fool. If it was just danger, Long Fu wouldn't need to do this. The Sky Martial continent was filled with danger, especially the 10 Directions tripod. He believed that the danger didn't belong to the Massacre Abyss. Since that was the case, why would he take the extra step of going to the Massacre Abyss? As expected. "Master, your guess is correct. When I followed the old master into the Massacre Abyss, I saw a mysterious energy that was even stronger than the energy of heaven and earth. As long as you can absorb it, even if it's just 3 months, I believe you will be able to break through to the titled sovereign realm and reach the demigod realm." Hearing Long Fu's words, it would be a lie to say that they weren't tempted. Longao was no exception. With such a temptation, Longao believed that he couldn't resist it and left. According to Long Fu, the Massacre Abyss was at the center of the Sky Martial continent. The entrance was very mysterious and hidden. Not to mention others, even the 10 Directions tripod rarely knew about it. As for those who knew, they wouldn't be so bored as to enter the massacre abyss for no reason. Again, the massacre abyss was filled with danger. Everyone inside was a madman. No one wanted to enter without leaving. On the way, Bai Ling tried to persuade Longao a few times, but he had already made up his mind. He knew that the massacre abyss was an opportunity for him, a rare opportunity. No matter what happened, he had to enter the massacre abyss. Peak Purple Grade Great Emperor Realm. There was still a long way to go before reaching the titled Great Emperor Realm. Under normal circumstances, who knew how long it would take? However, Long Fu had already said that as long as he entered the massacre abyss and absorbed the mysterious energy, he would be able to break through within 3 months. Chapter 11:16. The Massacre Abyss. It was located in the center of the Tianwu continent. It was a barren mountain among barren mountains. Not to mention human habitation, there weren't even any flowers or plants. There were dead trees and rocks everywhere. There were even a few skeletons. Crows flew all over the sky. Caw 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 caw. The crows' caws echoed throughout the barren mountain. Even if it was Longao, he could not help but shudder when he stepped into this barren mountain. If it wasn't for Long Fu leading the way, he wouldn't have come to this place even if he was beaten to death. There was no one around, not even a ghost. Long Fu, where's the entrance? Since he was already here, he might as well take things as they came. Longao was more or less afraid and worried. However, since he was already here, he had to face it. Master, it's in a small cave not far from you. Nodding his head. Without any hesitation, Longao walked towards the cave. Weeds grew everywhere. Longao split the weeds with his palm and entered the cave. A pitch-black cave. Who would have thought that this was the entrance to the massacre abyss? With Long Fu's guidance, Longao quickly found the entrance. A pitch-black tunnel. If it was an ordinary person, would they dare to casually enter the tunnel? The more mysterious something was, the scarier it was. Behind the tunnel was the so-called massacre abyss. Until now, Longao still didn't know what kind of place the massacre abyss was. He only heard Long Fu's description and didn't have any sense of imagery. Taking a deep breath. Finally, Longao took a step forward and stepped into the black tunnel. There was no light at all. If an ordinary person entered the tunnel, they wouldn't be able to move an inch. However, Longao's situation was completely different. As a purple-grade Great Emperor, there was no difference between day and night. Walking in the black tunnel was like walking in the day. The black tunnel was very long. With Longao's speed, he had already walked for dozens of minutes, but he still hadn't reached the end. Even Longao was a little surprised. Before Longao could ask, Long Fu's voice came. Master, you have to be careful. Long Fu, what's wrong? What happened? Longao knew that Long Fu would not shoot arrows for no reason. Did something happen? Master, the massacre abyss is not like the outside world. Inside, there are bandits everywhere. Many people will guard the exit. If you do not hand over the treasure, you will be killed on the spot. So that was the case. Longao already knew what Long Fu meant. It was nothing more than warning him to be careful because there were already people waiting at the exit. It was just as Long Fu said, a group of murderous bandits. Longao stopped and asked, Long Fu, why don't the people of the massacre abyss dare to go out? Cauldron of 10 Directions. In the following time, Longao did not continue on his journey. Instead, he listened to Long Fu talk about the slaughter abyss. The massacre abyss. No one knew where the massacre abyss came from. Many vicious people were chased by the people outside or the Cauldron of 10 Directions, and eventually hid in the massacre abyss. Not only that, within the massacre abyss, there were many aborigines. Similarly, no one knew where these aborigines came from. However, within the massacre abyss, experts were as common as the clouds. Even if you didn't take the initiative to provoke others, there was no telling when you would be killed. After listening, Longao rested for a while. He did not continue to dwell on this issue and continued on his journey. About half an hour later, he did not know how far he had walked before he finally saw a glimmer of light. Longao was not the slightest bit excited. Instead, he was somewhat dignified. Because he did not know how strong the people guarding outside were. As long as they were not demigod martial artists, he could leave smoothly. But the people of the Massacre Abyss were a little different. After thinking about it, Longao finally decided to use teleportation to enter the Massacre Abyss. At the entrance of the Massacre Abyss, two men with a huge difference in height were guarding here. The thin man was more than 2 meters tall, while the fat man was only about 1.5 meters tall. The contrast between the two was too great. Skinny guy, we've already been here for so long. Are you bored? Why don't we go into the city and see if there are any suitable targets? It's not like we can keep waiting here. Hearing this, the thin man glared fiercely. Fatty, stop talking nonsense. If you want to leave, you can scram alone. I like to wait here. Before the fat man could speak, the thin man continued, who do you think you are? You want to enter the city? With your strength, you will only die if you enter. You might as well stay here. If we are lucky, we might be able to make a fortune. The fat man seemed to want to say something, but did not say it in the end. Because the fat man was very clear that what the thin man said was right. With their strength, entering the city was indeed a road to death. They might even become food for others. But waiting like this was not a solution. If no one entered for 8 to 10 years, would they continue waiting like this? The thin man and the fat man were both black-grade great emperors. In the Massacre Abyss, black-grade great emperors were nothing. Otherwise, the two of them would not be waiting here. The thin man and the fat man looked at each other. Both of their faces were filled with joy at the same time. They had already sensed footsteps coming from the tunnel. It seemed like the fish was about to take the bait. And the result? Before the two of them could figure out the situation, or even know what had happened, their vision blurred and they were sent flying with a kick. Longao's figure appeared. Before he came out, he had already sensed that there was no one around except for the two black-grade great emperors. He originally wanted to use teleportation to escape, but he chose to face them head-on. After all, it was only two black-grade great emperors. With his current strength, he could easily handle them. You too. Big brother, please let us go. The thin man and the fat man were shocked. The two of them already knew what had happened. The people who entered the Massacre Abyss this time were stronger than them. As the saying goes, kind people are bullied, kind horses are ridden. This time, they were in big trouble. The two of them knew very well what the Massacre Abyss meant. In here, killing a person was like stepping on an ant. Even if the other party killed the two of them, they believed that no one would know. Even if they knew, they believed that no one would be nosy. This was the Massacre Abyss. Bully the kind and fear the evil. No matter who it was, they would follow this rule. The thin man and the fat man were no exception. Follow me. From the beginning to the end, Longao did not have the intention to kill the two. The reason was simple. It was his first time in the Massacre Abyss and he was unfamiliar with the place. If the two of them led the way or told him about the Massacre Abyss, it would be a great help to him in the Massacre Abyss. Chapter 11:17. The skinny man and the fat man stood up, trembling with fear, and slowly followed him. The two of them were scared to the extreme because they did not know whether the person in front of them would kill them or not. After walking for a while, how long have you been in the Massacre Abyss? Big brother, we have been here for 20 years. 20 years. For a martial artist, 20 years was not a short time. Longao was overjoyed and asked, do you know anything about the Massacre Abyss? The two of them nodded at the same time and asked back, Big brother, what do you want to know? Let's talk about the Massacre Abyss first. At this moment, what Longao wanted to know the most was about the Massacre Abyss. The reason was simple. In the following time, he would be staying in the Massacre Abyss for a long time. As the saying goes, know thyself and know thy enemy to be victorious in every battle. If he did not even know the situation of the massacre abyss, then he would be like a headless fly, running around randomly. Big brother, the massacre abyss is boundless, no one can walk through it once, but inside the massacre abyss, there is a huge city, which is the residence of many people. A city. Longao did not speak. Under normal circumstances, many people will enter the city, only those who are solitary or want to go out to cultivate. The rest, as long as they enter the massacre abyss, almost all will enter the city. So that was it. You too, tell me about the massacre in the abyss cities. The two of them were still scared because from the beginning to the end, the two of them did not know whether the young man in front of them would kill them or not. But since things had come to this point, they could only listen obediently. Big brother, the city is incomparably huge, and there are a total of 5 abyss lords. The 5 of them are in charge of the entire massacre abyss. As for the rest, there are too many, we don't know where to start. 5 abyss lords. Longao did not continue to ask. Just as the two of them said, the massacre abyss was so big that he did not know what to ask. It seemed that he had to take one step at a time. You too can get lost. Longao had decided to enter the city of the massacre abyss. Big brother, wait. Longao, who was about to leave, heard the two people shouting. He stopped and asked, "What's the matter?" "Big brother, we want to ask you for a favor. Can you bring us into the city?" Hearing the words of the two, Longao was very curious. "It's not like the two of you don't have legs. Why do you want to follow me into the city?" "Big brother, to tell you the truth, with our strength, if we enter the city alone, we will only die. Therefore, the two of us want to follow Big brother in the future. No matter if it is a mountain of blades or a sea of flames, we will listen to Big brother's orders." So that was the case. Longao thought for a moment. After all, he had only just entered the slaughter abyss and did not understand anything. If he had 2 followers by his side, it would be more or less useful. "You can follow me, but remember this. No matter what happens, don't make decisions on your own. Otherwise, I won't be merciful." "Thank you, Big brother. We wouldn't dare, we wouldn't dare." The fat man and the skinny man were overjoyed. Because in the slaughter abyss, they found a powerful big brother to rely on. In the future, they could sit back and relax. Even if they entered the city, they would not have to worry about being killed. Just like that. Longao led the two and left, walking towards the huge city in the distance. The huge city stood in the slaughter abyss. The entire abyss was dark and there were no 9 heavens. At first glance, there were rocks and weeds everywhere. It was like a mass grave, giving people a depressing feeling. "Big brother, we're here." After walking for a few hours, the 3 finally arrived outside the huge city. According to the 2, Longao already knew that in the entire slaughter abyss, there was only this huge city in front of them. Not everyone would enter. Many people would leave the city and cultivate in seclusion. There were also people who were afraid of being killed if they entered the city, so they could only wander outside. One had to admit that the slaughter abyss was much crueler than the outside world. Because here, the slightest carelessness could lead to being killed and falling into a state of eternal damnation. "Big brother, when we enter the city, we must be careful." "I know." How could Longao not know what the two meant? Before entering the slaughter abyss, Longao already knew that the slaughter abyss was full of dangers. Even if you did not provoke others, there would still be people who would come to find trouble with you. In other words, entering the city of the slaughter abyss, it was hard to say whether one would live or die. It was still the same sentence. Things had already come to this point. Even if they did not want to, they had to enter. "Let's go." Without further hesitation, Longao led the two and walked towards the city in front of them. In a short while, they had already entered the city. As soon as they entered the city, Longao sensed the auras of the surroundings locking onto them. They were all coldly looking at them, like wolves staring at their prey. Furthermore, Longao could clearly sense that many of the people around them were extremely powerful. Even the weakest were sovereigns. It was not that there were no low-level cultivators, but there were very few of them. It was hard to imagine just how terrifying the foundation and power of the slaughter abyss was. Longao even thought that if he could become the master of the Slaughter Abyss, then wouldn't he be able to contend against the 10 great powers? At that time, he would also have a place in the martial heaven continent. But it was just a thought. Longao was very clear that let alone becoming the master of the Slaughter Abyss, just being able to smoothly leave the Slaughter Abyss would be an extremely difficult matter. Big brother, you have to be careful. We've just entered the city. We'll definitely become the prey of many people. Although the two of them had already entered the Slaughter Abyss for 20 years, they had not stayed in the city for long. So to the city, the two of them were still newcomers. Just as the two of them had said, the three of them had just entered the city. They could become the prey at any time. They nodded. Even without the two of them reminding him, Longao was already on guard. He was very clear about what kind of place this was. The Slaughter Abyss was a place where strength was respected. If you were strong, everyone would be afraid of you. If you were weak, everyone would bully you. This was the reality. However, it was especially realistic in the Slaughter Abyss. Oh, where did this handsome little brother come from? Quick, let me see. Looking at the coquettish auntie walking over, the fatty and sister-in-law were startled. They whispered, "Big brother, this person is called a hag. She's a titled sovereign. She's very smooth and slick and has many friends. She's very sinister, so big brother, you have to be careful. Big brother, this hag likes tender young men the most. She'll chop them up to make buns." The fatty didn't continue, but the meaning of his words was very clear. Chapter 11:18. Hag. Little handsome, is this your first time in the city? Such a person was heartless and unscrupulous. Of course, Longao would not care about him. However, his main purpose in entering the Massacre Abyss was to absorb the mysterious energy and increase his strength. As for other matters, he would avoid them as much as possible. Longao didn't want to find trouble, but he wasn't afraid of it. Moreover, this was the Massacre Abyss. In the Massacre Abyss, the more afraid you were, the more people would want to bully you. In such a place, one had to be arrogant. This way, he might be able to intimidate others. He chose to ignore it. Longao and the other two walked past the female yaksha. The surrounding people were very surprised because they knew very well what the female yaksha meant. If this was the case, wouldn't the three of them not give the female yaksha any face? There would be a good show to watch. As expected. The hag was one of the top figures in the city. No one had ever dared to disregard her like this. She said angrily, "Brat, you're really arrogant. But don't worry, I like people like you." A knife hidden in a smile. The hag was a titled Great Emperor. Her strength and speed were obvious. In a flash, she had already blocked the three of them. "You like me, but I don't like you. As a woman, please respect yourself." Longao had provoked her time and time again. Even if she was a female yaksha, she could not bear it. "Ha ha ha, what an arrogant brat." The hag's face changed instantly. She said coldly, "Brat, who do you think you are? How dare you talk to me like this? You're courting death." Just as the female yaksha's words fell, two figures appeared out of nowhere at an extremely fast speed. The skinny and fatty were shocked. After all, the hag's strength was obvious. If they were alone, they would definitely die. The two of them were more or less stable because their big brother, Black Wolf, was in front of them. However, the hag was still a titled Great Emperor. It was still unknown if their big brother could fight against her. Longao was also shocked. Two black-grade Great Emperors. It seemed like the female yaksha wanted to test her strength. In the end, the female yaksha did not have full confidence. Otherwise, she would be the one fighting now. Longao was not afraid of black-grade Great Emperors. If it was an ordinary martial artist, even if his strength was comparable to two black-grade Great Emperors, he would definitely lose in terms of speed. However, Longao's situation was completely different. With spatial teleportation, Longao instantly locked onto their positions. Soul Array attack. End the battle quickly. Longao had already thought it through. He had just stepped into the Slaughter Abyss, and if he did not show off his strength, there would definitely be an endless stream of trouble coming his way. Therefore, Longao had already decided that his first battle after entering the slaughter abyss was to intimidate everyone. There was a difference of 1 level between them, but Longao was not the least bit afraid. Longao's soul was now extremely powerful. Moreover, it had merged with the aura of heaven and earth. Even the 2 black-grade Great Emperors could only use the soul array to attack. Before the female Yaksha could react, there were already 2 screams. The 2 who had just attacked were already sent flying back. They were like kites with a broken string, and fell heavily on the ground. Don't think that I'm easy to bully. Female Yaksha, I'm telling you clearly, if you provoke me again, I won't be merciful. One had to admit that Longao was really arrogant. However, in the slaughter abyss, this kind of arrogance was very normal. Because only powerful martial artists had the right to be arrogant. If it were the skinny and fatty, would they dare to be so arrogant? Humans were like this. The more subservient you were, the more others would want to bully you. If Longao appeared to be trembling with fear, she believed that at this moment, the female Yaksha would have already made her move. However, Longao had just defeated 2 people in 1 move, so the female Yaksha was very afraid. Before she figured out the strength of the other party, the female Yaksha would definitely not casually make a move. It was better to be safe than sorry. Looking at the figure that was gradually disappearing, the female Yaksha's face was extremely gloomy. It was as ugly as it could get. Female Yaksha, this time we've lost. Sigh. It's no wonder. He's so powerful, of course the female Yaksha wouldn't dare to attack. Discussions came from all around. Everyone was adding oil and vinegar. They couldn't wait for the female Yaksha to start a fight with the other party. Listening to the ridicule coming from all around, the female Yaksha finally couldn't take it anymore. She roared, "Brat, I don't care who you are. I'll let you know the consequences of provoking me. Big brother, we've provoked the female Yaksha. We're scared." Although the skinny and fatty didn't finish their words, the meaning of their words was very clear. Waving his hand, Longao's face was also not looking good. He coldly said, "If you're scared, you can leave now. Don't follow me." Seeing the black wolf angry, no matter if it was the skinny or fatty, they didn't dare to speak. Provoking the female Yaksha would put their lives in danger at any time. "Big brother, why don't we find a place to rest?" Nodding. Just like this, Longao and the other 2 found a tea shop and sat down. Inside the dragon seal space. Longao's soul entered the dragon seal space and asked straightforwardly, "Long Fu, where's the mysterious energy?" The main reason for entering the massacre abyss this time was for the mysterious energy. According to Long Fu, as long as he could devour the mysterious energy, his strength would skyrocket in just 3 months. From the purple-grade Great Emperor realm, he could directly advance to the titled Great Emperor realm. As for whether he could break through to the demigod realm, it was still unknown. Long Fu also knew his master's eagerness. Without wasting any time, he said, "Master, the mysterious energy is here. Inside the tea shop. You too, be careful. We've been targeted." Both of them were shocked. They seemed to have guessed that this would happen. Since they had provoked the female Yaksha, it would be strange if the female Yaksha didn't come after them. "Big brother, what should we do now?" The skinny and fatty clearly knew that since things had come to this point, they could only hold on tightly to their big brother. Otherwise, they would be dead without a doubt. What should they do? Since they had already entered the city, they could only take 1 step at a time. Longao had already guessed that there would be endless troubles in the massacre abyss this time. The female Yaksha was only the first. He believed that there would be a second, a third, a fourth, and even a fifth. Longao was more or less afraid. No matter what, the female Yaksha was still a titled Great Emperor. With his current strength, he still wasn't a match for a titled Great Emperor. However, Longao didn't plan to hide. After entering the city, other than devouring the mysterious energy, Longao had already decided to train in the massacre abyss. He hoped that he could break through to the demigod realm here. Chapter 11:19. Lady Boss, what should we do now? The female boss was slapped in the face by Longao in front of everyone. How could she let this go so easily? However, Longao's strength did shock the female boss. In the end, the female boss was still afraid. Otherwise, she would have attacked long ago. I want to see how powerful this person is. She lowered her head and thought. Spread the word that this person has a peerless treasure on him. Got it. Borrow someone else's knife to kill. Without full confidence, the female boss could only choose to borrow someone else's knife to kill. Next. Longao followed Long Fu's guidance and prepared to search for the mysterious force. As for the skinny and fatty, they did not follow. After all, it was dangerous. If they did not have scruples, they would die. The skinny and fatty knew that their brother had good intentions, so they did not say anything more. The city. The 5 lords of the abyss ruled the massacre abyss together. They had always minded their own business. As for the mysterious force that Long Fu mentioned, it was in the city. It was a place called Killing Without Blinking. Killing without blinking. The meaning was very simple. Anyone who entered could kill each other. They could kill as many as they wanted. It was also a place for people to vent their anger. Longao was speechless when he knew that there was such a place. The world was really big, and there were all kinds of strange things. It gave people different ways of venting. No wonder it was called the Massacre Abyss. If it was outside, not to mention others, would the 10-direction cauldron agree? For the mysterious force, Longao had decided that whether it was a mountain of swords or a sea of fire, he had to go. Killing without blinking. It was a huge place with decent decorations. It was simple, and there were tables everywhere. It could be considered a sea of people. It seemed that there were quite a lot of people who wanted to vent their anger. As soon as Longao stepped in, he saw that it was a mess. You kill me, I kill you. There were swords everywhere. If it was an ordinary person, they would not be able to stand it. Longao did not want to kill, nor did he want to be killed. As he had said before, he had come here mainly to search for the mysterious force. However, he had already entered. Even if Longao didn't want to kill anyone, it didn't mean that others didn't want to kill him. Before Longao could stabilize himself, several figures shot towards him from all directions. Before they even arrived, their terrifying killing intent had already reached him. Trouble was coming. Of course, Longao wouldn't have the slightest hesitation and immediately started fighting. Master, I'll take you away. Before Longao could react, he found that his figure had disappeared. In the next second, he had entered a huge cave. In the middle of the cave, 9 huge stone bowls were arranged in a grid. Moreover, each of the huge stone bowls contained a different colored liquid. Longao was very sure that he had never seen such a color before. He couldn't describe it, but it was very strange and special. Could this be the mysterious power that Long Fu mentioned? Long Fu, this is the mysterious power? Master, that's right. Back then, the old master and I researched it for a very long time. However, we were unable to figure out exactly what sort of power this mysterious power was. The power within the 9 enormous stone bowls respectively represents 9 different types of power. Each of them has their own merits. Even the old master back then only absorbed 2 types of power. He nodded. Longao slowly walked towards the 9 huge stone bowls. He didn't know why, but when he looked at the 9 huge stone bowls in front of him, he felt as if they were connected by blood. Could it be that he knew these 9 huge stone bowls? No, he definitely didn't know them. Longao was completely sure of this. Before this, he had never seen these 9 huge stone bowls. If that was the case, why did he feel as if they were connected by blood when he saw them? What was going on? For a moment, the 9 stone bowls confused Longao. He didn't know what was going on. Longao didn't tell Long Fu about this. The current Longao was no longer the Longao who listened to Long Fu for everything. He had his own thoughts and knew what to say and what not to say. Longao knew in his heart what to say and what not to say. For example, he couldn't say anything about what was happening now. Bai Ling, Xiling, Do you recognize the power in the 9 stone bowls? Without Longao saying anything, Xiling and Bai Ling had already sensed it. Both of them were communicating through their spiritual senses, so Long Fu didn't know what they were talking about. He also didn't know what Longao was thinking. He also didn't know what Longao wanted to do. If Long Fu learned that Longao was on guard, who knew what Long Fu would think? Big brother Long, just now, my sister and I sensed it. We've never seen this kind of power before. However, according to my sister's guess, the liquid in the 9 bowls should be a new kind of power refined from blood. Bloodline? Hearing Bai Ling's words, Longao was startled. He was very clear that to refine a bloodline into a power that even Long Fu, Bai Ling, and Xiling couldn't sense, one had to be incredibly powerful. Other than the heavenly Daos and the God Diviner, there was no one else in the martial heaven continent capable of this. Could it be the God Diviner and the heavenly Daos? Bai Ling, can you sense the power of the bloodline's true body? I can't sense it. Longao hadn't been planning on telling the 2 Genling about his situation. That was because it would be inconceivable. He had never seen the 9 stone bowls before, but he felt a connection to them. Who would believe him if he told them? It didn't matter if others believed him or not. In any case, Longao didn't know the details. After thinking it over, Longao decided to tell the 2 Genling. He had no idea what was going on between him and the 9 stone bowls. And so, Longao told them what he had sensed. Long Fu still didn't know, but Xiling and Bai Ling also understood what Longao meant. Otherwise, they wouldn't have used spiritual sense transmissions. Hearing Longao's words, whether it was Xiling or Bai Ling, both of them seemed to be a little surprised. This matter was indeed a little strange. No matter what, Longao had never seen the 9 stone bowls before. They were completely unrelated things, so why did he feel that they were connected by blood? What was going on? Longao, why don't you try dripping a drop of your bloodline into the 9 stone bowls? However, I have to warn you that if you do this, it might be dangerous. It's up to you to decide what to do. Xiling's meaning was clear. They couldn't make this decision. Longao had to make it himself. Longao had also thought of this. Since he felt a connection to the 9 stone bowls, then the best method was to drip his blood into them and see what was going on. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.